Hello, everybody. Welcome back for another episode of The Life Has Spoken. I am your host, Ed Castillo, former Corey Zork alumni from Season 7, One World, Season 9, Elimination Island, and most recently, Game Changer Season 10. I'm so excited to interview this next guest. She's amazing. I have the pleasure of playing with her twice now. She made her debut season on Season 7 for Corey Zork alongside as me and somebody else who we'll talk about and reference as the interview goes. But first, I want to thank Gabriel Camilleri for creating the ad for this interview. Thank you, Gabe. Shout out to Gabe. And without further ado, let's welcome my guest, Ingrid Santiago. Please welcome. Hey, Ingrid.
Hi.
How are you? Thank you so much for being here. I'm glad you're doing great.
I'm so excited to be here.
It's long overdue. I think we needed to talk to you. So before we begin, is there anything you want to say? How are you right now? I know you were just telling me that you were rushing to get here.
Yeah, I was somewhere else, and I was maybe going a little over the speed limit to get home. And I definitely got stopped at like 75 to 85% of the red lights on the way here. So I was like, just why we're like a minute behind or two, but that's okay. Also, I have iced coffee because why wouldn't I?
Yeah. Only the people who really know you know about that reference with iced coffee. So you're actually from North Carolina. I know you live currently at a place, but I know you're originally from Raleigh. Is that
yes? I'm living in Raleigh because I'm going to school in Raleigh. But my parents live in Cary, which is like 30 minutes out from Raleigh. It's just like a little suburb. If you're not from here, you probably haven't heard of it, but that's okay. And I've lived here my whole life.
So we actually have some people commenting, and I will be showing the banner. So
oh my gosh, yes, I see them. Dylan, I love you. I think I saw Austin said something earlier because he was being cute, but
he said, "I'll show it to you again." And he's not wrong, by the way. But
thank you.
So yeah, you're from you live in Cary right now because you're going to school there. But talk to me, how was it growing up in North Carolina? You're a Southern girl.
Yeah, I'm a Southern girl. I love my sweet tea. I don't sound as Southern as some of our other Carolina friends in the org community, which I think is partially because my parents are not Southern. And so there's that. Also, the area that I grew up in is not rural. It's very like, I don't even know if I'd call it urban, probably just suburbs. But like the people here don't have as thick of an accent. But I mean, I don't know much different. I've lived in North Carolina my whole life. I live in a big enough area that I went to school with a really large group of people. My college is actually smaller than my high school was. Mm-hmm. I graduated in a class of 736 people. I like met the girl that I walked in front of at graduation practice, and we'd both been at the school for 4 years. So a lot of like, just like big stuff. I mean, my whole life was centered around like music and theater and doing those things. And I was also a Girl Scout growing up. So those were like kind of the things that I did. But there's not much to do around here. You go out to eat with your friends and then you go home and sometimes you walk around Target and that's about it. But
is that you mentioned that your college was smaller than your high school?
Yes.
Is it safe to say that that's why, because you know all these people, you kind of make that tighter bond, and you do make those bonds with people, you become friends, and you kind of get close to people?
Yeah. I mean, I love people. I love making friends. I love like talking to people, getting to know them. I love the smaller environment. Initially, I was worried about it, but like being here, like I'm a senior now, being here like for 4 years has really like made me realize like it was the right choice to go to a small school. I've been to some of the bigger schools like UNC, NC State, things like that, like to visit friends and things. And I'm like, I could have never like spent 4 years like living in this big of an environment. And it's also been really great with COVID because we're such a small school. Like we've been able to, like with the exception of the spring of 2020, we've been open at least hybrid the entire time. Like my last school year was like completely, I had classes every day that I went to, and I never like was sent home, which was really awesome. And I think part of that is because it's such a small school, so there's less people to worry about.
Do you think that it made it easier on you, the fact that you didn't get to go home and spend the time with like your roommates, people who were also going through the same thing, and like the uncertainty, and also you've mentioned this to me, like going through those Dan finals and just schoolwork and life in general? Did it make it easier
Yeah.
for you?
No, I think it made it easier for me, like being here with other students and things rather than being at my house, because I was at my house for the spring of 2020 when everything was shut down, like down to like businesses and things. And that was really difficult just because like everyone in my house was trying to do different things at the same time. And like nobody like schedules lined up, and it was just like really difficult. And like because I'm a music student, like trying to practice in my house is really annoying and like things like that. But like being here has been really awesome. I've also really enjoyed getting to play orgs here rather than like at my house, because I feel like it would have been weird. But we have a funny story about that from Final Tribal Council.
We'll talk about
Season
that.
7 we'll get to. But like yeah, I've definitely like being here has been great, just like both from like a code standpoint and also from like an independent standpoint. Like because even though my family does live so close, just like 30 minutes away, it's been really great to like still have a spot that's like mine away from my family, even though I love them very much.
No, of course. You also mentioned theater. Is there a lot of things that you did from theater, or is that something like that you kind of like, well, I like theater, but I also want to focus on music?
Yeah. So when I was like a kid, which is weird to say because I'm like 21, but like when I was like a kid, I think initially I was more involved in theater than in singing, even though I did take voice lessons and things, just because that was what was available to me. And like in middle school, I was very involved in both theater and choir. And then when I was in high school, I started not getting cast in shows, and so I didn't have the option to be in theater. And that's when I think I really started to like hone my love for music, and it also kind of made me realize that I love music more because I feel like music is accessible to everyone all the time, and you can always find somewhere to sing. You can always find somewhere to play an instrument. Whereas like with theater, it's like you have to be cast in the show, which is like a little bit more difficult. And I don't want to ever make a student feel like their talents are not enough because I didn't cast them in a specific show or something, which is also kind of how I chose music over theater. But I still do love theater and I love performing, and every time I get a chance to, I take it. I was just in a show in August for the first time since the pandemic, and that was really fun. I love getting to play characters on stage, even though I don't like people looking at me. But I do think that theater will always be part of my life, but I have chosen music, if you will.
You just mentioned that you don't like people looking at you, but what is it? I would say, I guess this is a fun way to say it. What's your strategy to overcome that? And does it help you out in a personal way? Just like
Yeah.
not being yourself, but being a different character for that
Yeah, I
moment.
definitely think it felt weird to be performing. The show that I did in August was outside, and so you could like see everybody, and everybody's really close to you. And I was like, oh well, this is weird. Like I could see like my parents over there. That's weird. Like one of the big things in like a normal setting when it comes to that kind of a thing, like with being on stage and stuff, you don't really get to see the audience because the lights are shining in your face and the lights are down on them, and so like they're there but they're not there. And so like that I think is really helpful. And also just like you said, like getting into that character and being like, people are not watching me. I'm a part of this world where I'm telling this story with these people, and it has nothing to do with the people that are watching you. I think that like trying to like keep that in my mind helps me get out of my head a little bit, because I am very in my head all the time. And that's kind of a strategy that I like try to use in my life, in the sense of like, it's just me telling my story with these people, and like it's not really about the people that are paying attention to me or not paying attention to me.
And I think at the end of the day, it's you trying to convey a message of what the play is or the
Mm-hmm.
character. Just like music, you kind of find your voice in music, whether it's listening to it or like singing. The same
Yeah,
with theater. You're trying to like give the character's voice a message, and for people to
exactly.
like walk away from the play at the end and with something. You also said to, and I've seen this in the on our chats with like the group chat, that you love Broadway and musicals. Tell me,
Too.
which one are you excited now that Broadway is back? Is there any
Mhm.
musicals that you're excited to like potentially go to watch, or like just
Yeah. I don't necessarily see myself in NYC anytime soon, because that's expensive. But I have a special soft spot for Wicked, which recently opened. I've seen the show 3 times. It was the first show I ever saw on Broadway, and I've seen it twice on national tour here locally. I'm excited that Hamilton is performing again. Lin-Manuel Miranda is my personal hero. I love him, and I love all of his shows, not just Hamilton. Hamilton actually takes a backseat to In the Heights, but I'm really excited to see that they're back. And honestly, I'm loving that people are getting to experience live theater again, just in general. Like, seeing theater live is such a unique and special experience between like you as a performer and you as the audience member, that will never be recreated. It's just that night, that performance, that audience. And that's something that like people who aren't like big fans of things like that may not necessarily understand. But it's such a special experience, and there's nothing really like it. Like, it's cool to be able to see like the Hamilton pro shot, or like Come From Away just released their pro shot, and like things like that. And I love that allows people to have more access to these shows, because it's like, I'm never going to have enough money to see Hamilton. Are you kidding? But I got to see Lin-Manuel play Hamilton
Mhm.
because they recorded it and they allowed people to see it. And I think the theater should be more accessible that way. But like, the experience of just watching live theater is irreplaceable. And it also is giving these people who act for a living jobs again, whereas before they didn't, and they're able to like do what they love and like be able to support themselves from it, which is really awesome. So that's
is
that's my most excited thing about Broadway.
is there any musical that's your favorite that you always like cry, or just like it's like very like dear to you?
In the Heights is my favorite musical of all time. That is Lin-Manuel's lesser known musical, although they did just release a movie of it over the summer that I've watched probably 37 times. Oh God, it's my favorite. They're actually, a local theater company here is going to be putting it on next summer, and I'm like, please cast me, please cast me. And that show is really awesome because it's about, for anybody who doesn't know, it's a show about a neighborhood of people in New York and Washington Heights, which is like a predominantly Hispanic community. And it tells the stories of different individuals in that community. And it talks about like the main message is like finding where your home is. And especially because like a lot of them are immigrants. And so it's like, is your original country your home, or is Washington Heights your home? Things like that. And like finding home in little details and little things. And I love it because of that message. And I also love that it like represents Latinx people in such a wonderful way. There's Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, Mexicans, all sorts of things. There's a song in the show called Carnaval del Barrio, where they essentially, it's just like a celebration of the pride that they have in the countries they come from. And I like that, makes me really happy, and I love it. And like, I know you can relate as another Hispanic person that lives in the States, and has family in other places. And it's a beautiful story, and it's one that really showcases what it's like to be a Hispanic person living in the States. And I feel very represented and very seen by it. And I think that's probably one of the reasons it's so close to my heart. And there's a character in the show named Nina, who is a college student. And I saw the show for the first time my freshman year of college. And she sings a song at the beginning called Breathe that I'm actually going to sing on my graduation recital and in November. And she's had to drop out of school because she can't afford it, because she's trying to work jobs, and she can't keep up with her jobs and her academics at the same time, and she's so afraid of disappointing her community who has put so much faith in her. And she just like really spoke to me like on a deep level, and it would be such a dream to get to play her. And so maybe next summer I'll get to play her, but that show is my favorite because it's just so like close to my heart, and I can relate to it so heavily.
Well, it is a beautiful message because not only is it talking about something that I feel like there should be talked more about, but I love that it's a very special thing. You mentioned your love for music, and you're currently going for college. You're in Meredith College.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when we first met and we had a three-way video call. We were talking about how you were in college. You were getting ready to go out, and your ring also. We'll
My
talk
ring.
about
I got
that.
my ring like the week before the season started. Yeah.
Mhm. Talk to me how it was your freshman year to know that you had started this journey and going on college
Yeah.
and like for music and also getting your ring eventually.
Yeah.
So I know it's a big thing, right?
Yes.
It's
It's a huge
rite of
deal.
passage.
Yeah, it is it's absolutely rite of passage here. My school, like I said, it's very small. We have a lot of unique traditions to Meredith. It is a women's college, so we are a student body of only women and some non-binary people as well. And I know that there's a lot of talk about like what does it mean to be a woman that's starting to come up with Meredith. But it's college has been really difficult for me. It's just been like it's a lot of work. People hear music major and they think like, oh my gosh, that's so fun. And it's like, yeah, but also you're working really hard. I take like 10 classes a semester, which also means 10 finals a semester. And it's like an 18 credit course load. And it's just like, it's a lot of work. I mean, it's absolutely worth it. I wouldn't want to be doing anything else, but it's a lot of work. And I think it's more work than people realize when they hear arts, because they think like, oh, singing is fun. And it's like, no, singing is fun. And we want to like encourage other people to sing because it's a really wonderful thing, but it takes a lot of work at the
There's
same time.
different things that go behind not just singing.
Absolutely. And the other thing that kind of makes my college experience difficult, especially like starting as a freshman, I have something called adjustment disorder, which people are like, what are you talking about? And when the therapist was like, you have adjustment disorder, I was like, what? But essentially what it is it's an anxiety disorder that is characterized by extreme aversion to change. And so I was here as a sophomore and I still was like not used to being in college, and it was really, really difficult. And every semester I kind of go through this like buffer period of like 2 or 3 weeks where I'm like, oh my God, nothing makes sense. And I'm starting to get into the hang of that for this semester finally. But that's been a little bit of a roadblock to overcome. And at the same time, like I've made incredible friends in college. I have made amazing music. I've learned so much. I've been singing in choir. I'm now the leader of my section, which is really awesome. I've, learned things that I never thought I would know. There's so much about music that people just have no idea. It's like, it's crazy. And also just like, I've grown so much as a person in college. I came in as a very, very anxious, very scared person, very timid person. Somebody who was very, like people kind of considered me like afraid of my own shadow almost, and that kind of a thing. And I've become somebody who is a lot more independent. I can work really hard. I'm in a long distance relationship, apparently. Freshman INGRID could never. And I've grown so much. I'm more assertive. I will tell you like it is. I have become addicted to caffeine, which I wasn't before college. And like when it comes to like getting the ring, I remember I was single at the time that I got my ring, and I had a really bad breakup my freshman year of college. And I remember thinking like, oh, I really want like some sort of like self-love ring, because I used to have like a promise ring from this like stupid boy. And I was like, well, really, this is my self-love ring, because it symbolizes the work that I put into myself and into my ability to succeed academically and those kinds of things. Meredith's like mantra is like, this is what strong looks like, strong women. And so like this also symbolizes like my strength as an individual and as a woman. And so it was really like very emotional to be at the place where I could get it, because it meant, first of all, you have to have completed 60 credits of college before you're allowed to wear this ring, or before you're allowed to purchase it. So I was like, this symbolizes those 60 credits that I have worked so hard for and have, and have succeeded. And I'm like almost done with my degree now, which is crazy. But it's really cool that I get to wear this every day. And anybody who sees it knows that I'm a Meredith woman, and that's really cool. And I really love it.
And it's also a reminder of what you've been through to get to that point.
Absolutely.
And also the journey that you still have to go on until you graduate. So talk to me about moving on into Survivor. How did you find Survivor?
Yeah, my mom has been watching Survivor since the beginning. I was like 6 months old when Survivor premiered. I was a baby. So like obviously I didn't watch live from the beginning, but my mom definitely did. And the thing that hooked her was actually in season 2 when the medevac happened. The first like medevac that like hooked her in, and she has not missed an episode since. And when I was about, I want to say 8, I was in like 3rd grade, was the first time that I ever really like sat down and watched with my mom. And that was Survivor Gabon, which old people are like, you were that little. But I watched Gabon from start to finish, and somehow I decided to keep going after Gabon. And I have not missed an episode. My mom has DVDs of the first 3 seasons. So when I started doing that, I started to watch those. And so when Heroes and Villains came around, I knew like Jerry and Colby and like people like that, but I still like didn't super know. Like that was the first time I'd ever seen Parvati, or like not Coach was on Tokyo, but like Courtney, or like people like that like were in those earlier seasons that I just had not seen. So I just didn't know who they were, which was kind of weird. But then the summer before my freshman year of college, so when I had graduated high school, my mom discovered that Survivor seasons were on Hulu. And I binge watched with her the first 8 seasons. So like that was the very first time that I like watched them all through. I was like, oh, I hate Survivor All Stars. Oops. This sucks. And then over the next year or 2, I've like watched all of the fillers. I got the flu my sophomore year of college, and I was like bedridden for a week, and I like binge watched like China and Micronesia and a bunch of other ones like for the first time in the teen section. And so that's kind of how I started. And then quarantine is what really like got me into Survivor, like to the point where I'm like a nerd, where I was like going and like looking on Survivor Wiki all the time, and I found fan jury and like things like that where like other people, because I was like, nobody that I know like Survivor talks about it. I want Survivor friends, and boy do I have them. But and I've successfully kind of converted some of my friends in college to Survivor fans too, which is fun. But it all started with Survivor Gabon, thanks to my mom.
You also, I know this because I think my favorite season is also that and another one. But you've said that your favorite season is Millennials versus Gen X.
Yes.
Talk to me. Why is it your favorite season, and what was it watching it for the first time?
So I was in high school when it came out, and so it was also really cool to see like Will Wall playing Survivor, because he was a high school kid and I was a high school kid, and I was like, oh my God, high schoolers on Survivor. I would not have said that it was my favorite the first time I watched it, but that's also because like that was at a point where I wasn't rewatching. And so it was just like every season was a distant memory. But I did really love it. And I think like what I love about it now is like, first of all, the cast is incredible. It is such a good cast. There's like one or two people that I'm like, I could do without them. And that's it though. Like that's amazing for Survivor. And like the kind of heroes of the story, the main characters of like Adam and Hannah are like so relatable, and they're so like, Hannah is my spirit animal. You and I have talked about this at length. Hannah Shapiro is one of my absolute favorite Survivor players ever. I want her to come back. She won't. Normally we look alike because I've got the curly brown hair too, and the glasses and the nerd. And like, the one thing about this season that I will say I will never forget from the first time I watched it was watching Hannah have an anxiety attack on TV, and watching it unfold. And like, when this season was airing was like one of the times in my life where I was like the most anxious. I was a junior in high school. Nothing good happens when you're a junior in high school. And I was just like so anxious all the time. And to like watch somebody else also be going through that, like makes you realize that you're not alone. And you see the stories of like her and David, who were both like so anxious and so scared at the beginning of the game, who by the end of it were the strategic powerhouses of the game. And like, neither one of them won, but that's there. But they were both like such great players by the end of it. And like, some people don't give Hannah the respect she deserves, which is ridiculous, but whatever. And if anything, like watching that season now, like makes me realize, and it's one of the reasons I actually started looking for orcs, was like, I was like, you know, if David and Hannah can play Survivor well, I sure as hell can play it well too. And I wanted to try it out and see if I was right. But I see so much of myself in the characters. Like the gameplay is really good too. And it's such a like well-rounded season. Like it has a great cast. It's very entertaining, but it also has really good strategy, and it's got some historic moments and things like that. And I just think like all of those things together like make it such a great season. It's my comfort season. I watch it over and over and over again, and am so happy to watch it every single time.
Before I forget, because you mentioned this before and I wanted to bring it up, but then I was waiting for you to like talk about season 33. When you were talking about your journey in college, you said that at the beginning there was an INGRID and you were shy and timid, and right now you're a strong woman. Is it safe to say that you're almost mirroring Hannah's journey when she couldn't vote and she was scared, and towards the end she just like, even I think Jeff says it, like she just walks up to go to vote and she knows what she's going to do? And is that the same feeling you have right now?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely still have my days and I still have my moments, but I definitely think that I'm on a similar journey, and I think I will continue to do that as I leave college and I become a real adult. Ooh. But it both like it's, and I think Hannah can even say the same about her Survivor journey. I think it's both like people changing their perception of me and me changing my perception of myself, as well as like growing into this person, and also just like the incredible support system that I've built, that has like helped me to realize my confidence and things like that, and like realize that I can be this strong woman and I know what I'm talking about and I can trust myself that I can make things happen. And like Hannah had that support system in a way on the show, like with the people who went to rocks for her and the people who, you know, stuck by her vote after vote after vote that helped her get to the end. I think it's a very similar trajectory and a very similar journey. Yeah.
So you start following Survivor Fan Jury, and eventually you stumble upon the org page.
That is exactly what happened.
Really?
I mean, like, I saw, I was on Fan Jury one day and Corey had posted like an ad for his org, and I was like, what the hell? I was like, he's from Greenville. That's not far from here. Like, it'll be fine. And of course, he had the schedule of Tuesday nights, and I was like, I know that I can do Tuesday nights, so I know that I'll like be able to fit it in my schedule. Why not? One night a
Was
week.
there were you thinking like I might not get casted? Were you really excited? What were you thinking at
I
that point?
was super excited. I was really excited to just try it, which is
Hmm.
like weird because I don't like trying new things. Gabe says it all the time. He's like, Ingrid, I don't know how you got here, and I'm like, I don't either. Um, Something possessed me that day. But
The
I
spirit of
like
Hannah.
it's the spirit of Hannah, exactly. I was really excited. I was hopeful. Like I hoped I would get cast because I knew I saw the post early. So like I was one of the first people to apply, which is like weird to think about now. And I was excited to see where it would take me and like what I would do. Like, would I actually be a good player? I don't know.
And so you get casted, and they reveal that the twist is one world,
Yes.
alongside with two captains, the famous Nick Whitney and Madness Maggie, being
Yes.
two tribes. And then you end up being in the Barnes tribe,
Mhm.
and it's you, only you, one woman, and the other
Yeah,
3 or 4 women on the other side, and
that's
it's
true.
just you, one woman with a bunch of guys. What are
Yeah.
your thoughts at that point?
So I noticed it immediately. I was like, oh my God, I'm the only girl in this tribe. What? Um,
Second youngest, by the way, also
yes,
aside from
that's true.
KT.
KT,
So
who was eliminated early, so I was like the youngest for a really long time. Um, I definitely worried about being a target because I was a girl, and because I was a young girl. I figured that people would underestimate me, and either see me as an easy boot or see me as somebody that they could take super far. Um, that it depended on what the rest of the tribe wanted. So, and I also knew like I couldn't come out of the gate like swinging and being really aggressive because that doesn't look good on a woman, especially. Sometimes men can get away with that, women really can't, um, most of the time. But I remember being like, I gotta get insulated quickly. Um, because if I don't, like, I'm gonna be on the outs just from that fact alone. Um, and like being a woman has like, being a woman and being a woman in her early 20s has been like a driving force in my thought process for strategy since the very beginning. Um, and it started with being the only woman on that tribe and being like, oh my gosh, I have to make sure they don't look at me differently
mhm.
because I'm the only woman on our tribe. Um, so I think I did a pretty good job of that. But I was very nervous at first.
I will say that you were besides Keanu, I had messaged you first, then Keanu. Well, Keanu, then you, and then Nick, of course, Brian. And then we ended up making this alliance, which is the Triforce Alliance. And then we immediately get in a video call.
Yes.
And I remember you were getting ready because you were going to go out with your friend. And then we were having this strategy talk with complete strangers, by the way. And we're strategizing. And I think
Complete
it was a
stranger.
Sunday, a Sunday.
It was a
And
Sunday.
you're
Yep.
and you were doing your makeup and just like, if this is not commitment for y'all, I don't know what is, because I'm literally in front of
I know I
strangers.
had like so little time to get ready. I was like, I'm going out to dinner, but I'll get on this call with y'all while I get ready. I'm sitting there like putting on concealer and stuff, like talking about strategy. And my roommate was like next to me and was like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I started laughing when she mentioned, are you talking about Survivor? And you're like, yeah. He's like, oh.
Yeah, she knows nothing. Well, she knows more now. I've like had her watch stuff and she like is becoming her own little Survivor fan. But
Mhm.
at the time she knew like nothing about Survivor, so it was really funny. Yeah, I was like, look, here I am, ready to talk. Let's go. Let's do it. And I know that we were led astray, but I really was like full on like ready to take this Triforce to the end, like no questions asked. Um,
I
and
will say that
obviously
it did come true in a way, though.
it did. It did.
We did make it to the end, like plus another person,
We
but
did.
I mean, it did happen. um,
Another person.
we'll talk about him soon. So then we ended up going to immunity. But we're gonna talk about the person that never showed up, Alan. And I
Yeah.
remember like we bonded over I would say our discomfort that he never showed up. And we were like,
Yes.
if we go to tribal, first boot, right? First boot, and it never happened. But yeah,
Right.
we ended up kicking ass on the challenges, and
We
I
did.
will I will say that you specifically, you and Nick, and I would rank myself third probably in
Probably.
trivia. You really did excel in the trivia department. Talk to me how it was for you as a fan of Survivor to actually test your knowledge and go head to head alongside with Nick and just like demolish the Mullet
Yeah.
tribe.
Oh my God. First of all, it was so much fun. It was so much fun. I loved those early challenges. They were great. I thought that Nick and I worked really well as a team, which was really awesome. And I remember being like, I want to be somebody who does well in the challenges because I don't want to be a target early on. And I was really excited to get to test my knowledge, and I was surprised at how much I knew. Like I knew that I knew things about Survivor that like other people didn't know about Survivor, but I didn't know like that I knew that much about Survivor that other people didn't know. And we just like we were kicking ass like hard. Like I remember being really surprised at like how ahead of the other tribe we were. Like we were really far ahead. It was crazy. We like never had to go to tribal on Barnes ever. And it was really like it just we worked cohesively. Like if I didn't know it, Nick did. And we worked really well as a team, and it was really cool to like get to see my knowledge come to fruition, but also to know that there were other people who also knew that much about Survivor. It was really cool.
I will say that one of the times that I was impressed, but I was more impressed when I think Corey asked a question where you had to like, it was only one word you could say and you had to guess the thing.
Yes,
and
that challenge was so fun.
I can't remember the word, but then you said, "Oh, it's ALS," or am I saying it wrong?
Yes.
And you got the reference, and you actually, what I liked about that is that you kind of gave us information and what it is, and like that was really cool. So
yeah, that was the 21 words or less challenge, which I think was the last challenge we had before we swapped. So I was like, ugh, tragic. But it like I think Nick said Gehrig, and ALS is Lou Gehrig's disease, and I was like, yeah, Lou Gehrig's disease. That's the condition that Penner's wife, Stacy Title, unfortunately had and unfortunately passed away from. At the time, she had not passed yet, but I knew that that's what Nick was talking about, and I was like, okay, so the person is Jonathan Penner because that's the only Survivor player that I'm aware of that has a connection to Lou Gehrig's disease. But I was proud of myself because that was cool and that was like really obscure.
Yeah, because I after you explained it, I did remember because Yule talked about it at Winners at War, and I think that anytime somebody brings up a awareness of like things like this, it's really important. And the fact that you also reminded us, like I knew about it, but I forgot, and I wasn't really like I didn't know that much. So it was really cool to see you kind of like, oh, it's this. We got a point, but you also remind us of things that are happening. So after that, we get swapped. Me, you, and Brian. We end up being Mallets, and I remember we got destroyed. We kind of was like,
it's the curse of the Mallet tribe. Sorry, Abby.
You don't know how good you got it until you end up
get swapped to the bad tribe.
Yeah, I mean we did try, but I mean
we did. We just got our asses handed to us every time.
I remember typing like, so this is how it feels to be in the Mullet tribe. But so I'll talk about this because I've told you now, and you thought it was something else, like something else was going down, but there was something shady going down potentially.
I know.
So at that time, actually, before I get ahead of myself, you found an advantage, which was an extra vote, but it turned into something else. If you get to the merge, it becomes an extra vote. Before the merge, it becomes you get to like
we got to bring somebody from the other tribe to tribal with us, and they got to vote, but they could not be voted out.
Right. And we actually worked together on solving that riddle, and you got it. At that time, I feel like I was kind of like, oh, Ingrid, I think she's really close to Nick. We need to potentially.
And I was so not.
Yeah, and that was sometimes it's weird because it's like perception is reality, even if it's not, and in the paranoia. And I was just like to Brian, like, I'm gonna try to do something. Let's see if we can approach Tina. And it seemed like it was gonna happen. And then Tina's like, no, let's do this. Like, yeah, let's vote out Ingrid. And I'm like, okay, so after Ingrid, it should be like Joey, right? He's like, why Joey? He's like, we should vote out somebody else. And I'm
Brian
like,
probably
okay,
would have been the
Jen.
only other person. Or
Yeah,
Jen,
so,
yeah.
yeah, and but she didn't
We
want
were
Jen
getting
to
Jen.
go. Jen was safe. Jen was safe for that tribal.
Mhm.
So if it's not Joey, then it's me or Brian. So I was just like, okay, Tina, no, it's not gonna happen. She left
Thanks,
me on
Tina.
red. And also we immediately go to you and we're like, Tina's throwing out your name. But eventually in reality it was me and Brian. And then,
Katie.
if we had done that, like Keanu and Nick, they would have turned on us, well, me,
Mhm.
and I would have like struggled. So I was like kind of like, okay, we're not gonna do it. So we end up voting Tina and then Joey, and then we merge, and then we get to the merge, and it's that episode where we have to do a sequester. Talk to me in your
Yes.
head. What was going through your head in like going into the challenge? We had a goal, and
Yeah.
then like we get out the mallets, and then it's like Nick gets out, but it's okay, whatever. And then there's that round that
Mhm.
it's 4-1, you get voted out.
Yes. Okay, so I figured the first two people out were Maggie and Nick, which I understood because we
Yeah,
did not want the returning players to have immunity.
yeah.
And then it was between me and Jen. We're the only people you could vote for. And every room that I went into, everybody was like, "You're good, you're good," and I was like, "Great." Even like Casey was like, "You're good." And Casey was like the one person from the One World Twist, by the way, who actually
Yeah.
reached out to me from the
Mhm.
other tribe ever. So like, props to Casey, which is also props to you because you and Casey knew each other but didn't tell us. But and so I was like, okay, like I'm good. And then it was like 4-0. And I was like, dang, that sucks. It was me. And I was so shocked. I was completely blindsided. And I was like, why? Why would they do that? Like,
Mhm.
what? Um, and so I get sent to like the jury house in the sequester, and I was livid. I messaged Keanu and I was like, you have some splaining to do, sir. You best believe.
Because Keanu is the one who did that. I was typing in it. I was like, he's probably gonna say no, and I was willing to make that move. Like, let's get rid of her in this round. And then as I'm typing, he's like, let's do Ingrid. And I was like, erase, erase, erase. I'm like, okay. But I was shocked. And I feel like if I could go back, I would be like, no, dude, let's not do it. Because I feel like that changed the game
It
in
absolutely
a
changed
way.
the game. That was a turning point for sure. And I think what I've told Keanu, and I may have told you this already, but like I think what really got me about it was that it was unanimous.
Mm-hmm.
Because quite frankly, if either one of you had voted for Jen, I at least would have known that like somebody was on my side,
Mm-hmm.
and y'all could have lied all day long about which one of y'all did it. Um, but like I told Keanu, I was like, you could have thrown a vote. Like
Mm-hmm.
when that happened, I was like, wow, these people that I've like put my full trust in, like, don't want me to have a shot at immunity. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Like, especially because Jen was the person that I was up against and we were not aligned with her at all. And so I was like,
No.
what? Like, if it had been Casey, I would have been like I still would have been upset, but it would have been different because we had formed an alliance with Casey.
Yeah.
And things, or even Brian, because Brian was also in our alliance. So I was like, it was just like, I was like, what is going on? And Maggie and Nick were on a call, and they were like, they added me to their call, and I was expressing my frustrations, and they could tell I'd been blindsided. And this was like one of the first conversations I had with Nick the whole game,
Mm-hmm.
which is not what people thought, but which is weird, but fine. And Maggie was like, what you guys don't know is that Ed and Casey know each other. And yeah, and they're like, Ed and Casey know each other from a different game. They like spent time on the edge together and this and that. And also like there had been a riddle earlier in that day, and we could not figure out who had solved it. And she was like, oh, Ed solved the riddle and Ed has the advantage and this and that. and like ratted you out as a snake. And I was like, oh, like,
Oh my God.
I was so mad. I was like, oh,
That this
and
Maggie
he was
at
like,
its
do I believe
finest.
her? Like, I don't know. And like, I was like talking to Nick and I was like, do you believe her? And he was like, yeah, I kind of do. And I was like, what? Okay. And she was like, we can change this whole thing and whatever. And like, I actually ended up voting for you to win the sequester because I liked your speech better than Keanu's.
Oh.
Keanu like went up there and was like, well, you know, Barn Strong, blah, blah, blah. And then you actually like gave a real speech, and I was like, well, shit, I gotta give it to him. Like, and I was mad at Keanu anyway, so I was like, whatever. Like, I'm mad at both of you, but I guess I'm less mad at Ed. And so after you win immunity, Maggie's like, okay, we can either vote out Keanu or we can vote out Brian. If y'all want to make a move, I will make a move with you. And I was like, Nick, do you want to do it? He was like, I'll do it if you do it. I said, okay. But we're voting out Brian because I need to hear what Keanu has to say. And also because I didn't want to close that bridge entirely or like burn that bridge entirely because I had been working so closely with Keanu from the very beginning. I was like, I don't want to lose it now. Like,
did this goes into, before I forget, also into that story that I heard, and probably why you were so blindsided and hurt, because I feel like you genuinely were hurt because Keanu did it. That conversation that you had, there was a bee, and you had to spend 3 hours in your bathroom. He's like, I guess I'm sleeping in the bathroom tonight, and just like those conversations with Keanu.
Keanu and I had like personal conversations like every day, and I was in my bathroom at 3 a.m. and there was a wasp on the door handle, and I knew Keanu was up because he's on the West Coast, and so I like messaged him and I was like, I'm telling you this because you're my closest ally, which was another way I should have said that, because I know that you then heard about it and was like, closest ally, because
that's when he was trying
to also send it to you, and I was like, I didn't, but and it wasn't even like that, but like, you know, fine. I was like, well, I guess I'm sleeping in the bathroom tonight because nobody could hear me because there's a wasp and I'm not about to provoke it. It's just like a really silly little story, but yeah. Like I mean, I'm telling this person at 3 a.m. that there's a wasp in my bathroom, like, and then he blindsided me. I was so upset. And I was like, and I really thought about it. I was like, what does this like mean for the rest of the game? Because like I had genuinely made a promise to you guys to like go to the end with you. And I was like, are we still going to do that? Like, what's happening?
Looking back, there was no reason to get you out that round, like at all. Like, and probably one of us, he's told me, and I've told him, like, probably one of my biggest regrets, because it could have avoided so much stuff. But I mean, it happened. Brian gets voted out. We had a plan, and as the votes are coming up, I have immunity, and I'm just like, oh, it's gonna be fine. And then I see the third Brian, and I'm like, oh shit. And me and Keanu are the only ones that voted for Jen because we wanted to like split the votes or something. And then we're like in a call with each other, like, oh, we're screwed. Like, and then like talk to me, because like I only talked to Keanu. Because at that point we weren't talking, me and you, and I think maybe that's when he was like putting us against each other. But you end up talking to him. Talk to me how it was to gain that trust back with him, and you know.
Yeah. So I called Nick first, and Nick showed me that he had an idol. And he was like, we're ride or dying this to the end. And I was like, oh no. I was like, yeah, great. And then I was like, oh God, now I have like more than one deal with people. I don't want to do that. And I called Keanu and I was like, what the hell happened? He was like, well, you got some splaining to do too. And I was like, well, nuh-uh, you first. I wouldn't have done it if you hadn't done it first. And he gave me some like, I'm trying to even remember what he said. It was like, he definitely said something about you. Like he probably threw you under the bus and was like, it was Ed's idea. But I don't remember.
and I'm not even surprised at this point. I mean, we did end up going against each other.
But I know that he, like, we talked initially just about like, he was like, I'm really sorry. And I was like, you shouldn't have been unanimous. Why did you do it? Like, he never owned up to it being like completely his idea, and he did say that the reason was because they wanted Jen to feel safe.
We did, and
That
because we
y'all wanted
wanted
Jen to
her.
feel safe because you were planning to vote her out, and we had the plan to vote her out. And I was like, okay, but like somebody could have told me,
Mm-hmm.
or like not all of y'all had to vote for me. Like somebody could have voted for Jen, and it still would have been fine.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I also was like, if you guys had told me that, like I would have believed you, and I would have been on board. Like,
I think what it was is that we were trying to get to split the votes, and so we wanted Jan to vote with us, but we couldn't tell you that we were actually targeting Nick. So because we thought at that point you would run to Nick because we thought you were closer to him, so we needed
this
Jen's
is the
vote.
moment that makes me close to Nick.
Yeah,
Surprise.
ironically, yeah, it does. So there was a lot of plans, even the final six where Jen goes. That was me like telling you guys a plan, telling switching the plan like 10 minutes before tribal, maybe 15 minutes, due to the split between you, and I believe it was Casey, because we
And
were going to
Nick.
vote somewhere else. Yeah, so that was going on at the vote out with Brian, and it didn't happen because you guys were like something's going down here. And then after that, that's final seven. I use the advantage, and I know I tell you, hey, I'm being honest with you. I'm going to share this with you. I have this advantage. Meanwhile, you
He
already
definitely
know.
said something. Keanu definitely said something like, "Ed doesn't trust you anymore," and I was like, well, "I don't trust Ed then." He's
Mm-hmm.
like, "Well, you got to talk to Ed because we got to stick together." And I was like, "Fine, I guess."
We ended up kind of like hashing it out, and then like I was like, oh, I have this advantage, by the way, I'm going to use that. You told me like you're fine, you don't have to use it, but it's up to you. And I was just like very paranoid because I was like, we kind of just screwed Ingrid, we screwed her. And then like if you go to tribal, I don't know what's going to happen. Are they going to go after Keanu? And I know that Maggie has nothing to lose, so she'll throw anybody under the bus,
Yeah,
as long as it's not
yes,
her.
she would.
So I was like, I'm gonna use it, and then you guys end up voting Maggie. Like,
Yes.
talk to me how that was for you, experiencing that, like actually taking out a former player.
Yeah. So we knew you were going to use the advantage, and I don't even think that there was ever talk about voting you out, but I think like
Mhm.
even if like anybody would have thought about it, like we already had ruled it out because we knew you were going to use the advantage. So it was like we can't vote for Ed, but we also know that we cannot count on him as a number either.
Mhm.
And my first thought was Casey because I was like,
Mhm.
I want to cut off the communication between Maggie and our alliance because I was
Mhm.
like, we say things to Ed, Ed says things to Casey, Casey says things to Maggie, and then everybody in the tribe knows. And that's how it works with a small cast. And so like my initial thought was to cut off Casey. And Keanu was like, well, like, what if we went after Maggie? And I was like, I'm listening.
Mhm.
And he was like, well, if we take her out now, she's not going to be expecting it, so she won't play anything.
Mhm.
We don't need Ed because he won't be there, so we don't even have to tell him it's happening. And so he can't leak it. And and I was like, okay, well, so we'll be treating it like a final six tribal, and I have the extra vote, so I can make sure that it goes our way.
Mhm.
And then we were like, okay, what do we tell Ed? Because like, you're going to want to talk to us. I was like, oh, what do we tell Ed? And I was like, we can tell Ed that we're voting for Jen because that's the person he probably cares about the least in that side of the alliance because he was so close to Casey, he was close to Maggie. No, okay. And we like came up with this whole thing about like why we were voting for Jen, which is like the least strategic move. And like all this stuff. And I like called Nick and was like, Nick, we're gonna vote for Maggie. And he was like, finally. And I was like, I know Nick will be on board because he wants to outlast her. And it's like, okay, great. And we like got on a call, three of us, and then we were like, okay, we can bring Ed in and like tell him our story. And we told you our story.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, Keanu did tell me like this, like he wanted to get rid of Maggie. So I kind of knew that if I wanted to go against you guys and vote for you, I needed to stay there. or I could walk away and let you guys have the numbers. And I knew at that point you would be able to force to play your extra vote.
Yeah.
But also I didn't want any blood on my hands. So I was just like, I didn't know if I could trust Maggie because like Kiana told me that Maggie had told, um, Casey had told Maggie and Maggie told you guys or whatever. So at that point, I was like, I think Casey's like, tighter with Maggie, and that doesn't work for me. So, and the thing is, I wanted to work with Maggie, but I was scared of Maggie.
I was
Because
also scared of Maggie.
because
I was
like,
way more afraid of Maggie than Nick because Maggie was unpredictable.
mhm,
I felt like I never knew what she was going to do, and I never
yeah,
knew when she was telling the truth. And
mhm,
like with Nick, especially after he showed me his idol and everything, I was like, Nick is my coach.
mhm.
Like, he will do anything that I tell him to do. And quite frankly, that's what happened the whole season. Love you, Nick. But um, it was like I knew that he was not going to vote me out. More than
Mhm,
anything in the world, I knew that Nick was not going to vote me out no matter what happened. So
mhm,
I knew that I could count on him in a way that I absolutely did not know I could count on Maggie. And so the other reason that I was like good with getting rid of Maggie over Casey was I was like, Casey, at least we know, has ties with Ed. And if we know what Ed is doing, we probably know what Casey is doing. We never know what Maggie's doing. And she's getting all of our information via Ed and Casey. So we need to cut that off. So it made sense
mhm.
to me from that perspective too. Because I was like, I'm afraid of you, woman.
Maggie gets voted out, and you do that famous Michaela hair flip because he finally slayed the Madness Queen, and now
Yes.
you're one of two only women left in the game. It's
Yeah.
final six, and the plan is to vote out Casey next because Jen is an easy target. She's not
Yes.
really talking to anybody,
Right.
and something goes down.
Yes. The target was Casey. I was like, finally, we can vote out Casey. And I definitely saw him as the bigger jury threat
Mhm,
over Jen. I was like, if something happens and Jen goes on an immunity run out of nowhere, like we're gonna
mhm,
be fine.
mhm,
Casey, on the other hand, I'm not so sure. Um,
mhm.
and so that was the round that Keanu won immunity, and a disadvantage was played on me at the immunity challenge. And I was so sure it was Casey who did it, which is incorrect postseason. But at the time, I was very sure. I had a feeling. My relationship with Casey was like we would talk. It's very similar
Mhm,
to like Matt and Austin in Game Changers, where it was like we would
mhm.
talk about like, oh, like we're gonna do something, but we're really not, and like we knew we were going after each other,
Yeah,
but we still had like friendly banter and things. So I kind of like
yeah.
friendly bantered with him like the whole time, just thinking that he was the one who did it.
Mhm,
Um, and like he very clearly gets started first, and like all that. Um, but I managed to get to the end of that challenge with less rope chops, and really the only reason that I lose that challenge is because of that disadvantage. Like I would have won that challenge.
mhm.
Keanu just happened to get enough chops to beat me, which I don't know how that changes things. It might, but I don't know. And so Keanu wins immunity. We go to votes, and Nick's like, "I'm gonna play my idol," and I'm like, "Okay." This is like the only tribal council that Nick is not immune for, other than the merge tribal. I'm like, okay, you can play your idol. I was like, he was like, do you think it's gonna be you? And I was like, I no. Um, I was like, I don't know if I don't have enough people to vote me out. So
Mhm.
I think like if you want to use it for yourself, cool, fine. But also, I'm not gonna be mad if you use it for me. Um, this has become a deja vu conversation for me and Nick. We could probably talk about later. But um, I Nick and I vote for Casey, and the votes come in, and we voted for Casey. I believe Casey and Jen voted for me,
Mhm.
and you and Keanu voted for Nick. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what the hell is going on? And obviously Nick's votes are negated, so then it's a
Mhm.
tie between myself and Casey. And I remember being nervous at
Mhm.
this tribal and sending a message in our alliance chat of like you, me, and Nick and Keanu, and you were like, "Don't worry, Ingrid, I got you." Da, da, da. And then it dies, and you said, "You said, sorry, I'm voting for Ingrid. I don't want it to go to Rocks," which makes me laugh because
It does go.
if you had voted for Casey, it would not have gone to Rocks and Casey would have gone home. But because you voted for me and Keanu voted for Casey on the revote, it does go to Rocks. And I remember when that happened being like, good riddance, Ed, get rocked out. Like, I was like so ready.
I know 50-50 Rock
I know
draw.
50-50. I was like, look at him playing himself right now. I took delight in your despair in that moment. And then Jen gets rocked out, which is like neither here nor there. It really didn't. I'd honestly just changed the order like once.
Yeah, it did.
In my opinion. I don't think we were ever considering, like, we knew we were getting rid of Jen soon anyway. I don't think we were considering taking Jen to the end either, because we wanted to make sure that the primarily Millette jury wasn't going to just vote for the last surviving person of their tribe. So it was like, oh well, I was a little disappointed.
Especially after I had just done that to you, and I was just like,
I was like, I would love to see him get played here, and it did not happen, but that's okay.
And then we get to the final 5, and at that point, I know it's because like Keanu already made it obvious by voting for Casey that letting me go to Rocks that he's with you and Nick, and at the bottom 2 are Casey and myself. So at that point, we know that if one of us isn't winning, and I know at that point it's like it's either me or Casey if we don't win immunity. And then I'm just like, I remember that day just like shutting down and just like not talking, because I remember Casey talking and making conversations, and he was talking to people, and I think he was scrambling. So I was like,
he was scrambling a lot. Yeah.
I was like, if I stay quiet, maybe they'll see him as a bigger threat. And I love Casey. Like I had just gone to Rocks for him. But at that point, I'm like, if I can get to one more round, you never know what happens.
Right.
And so I was still nervous though, because like me and you know, like me and Casey ended up voting for you. I ended up voting for you for like the 8th time now.
Most votes of the season, Ingrid. Thank you, Gabe, for that statistic.
And then like 3 votes come and it's Casey, and he gets voted off, and he is the last Millette, and he's gone. And now it's the final 4 now, all Barnes, and then you're still there. A final 4. What goes through your head when you feel like, oh my God, one more challenge and I can make it to the end?
I know, it was crazy. I thought I had set myself up really well. And I still think I have postseason, just a little weird. I definitely, like, most of my plans had gone off without a hitch. I had voted correctly at every tribal council except for the Rocks tribal, because it was a Rocks tribal. Like, I remember thinking like, shit, I got a shot. Like, oh my God. I did know that our final 4 was going to be endurance, and I knew that I was going to suck at it. So I was like, gosh, I got to bank on my relationships, because I know I'm not going to win this challenge. Like, I'm going to try, but I'm not going to win this. Keanu and Nick are here. I'm not going to win this challenge. And so I knew like I was going to have to trust that Keanu or Nick win the challenge and not vote me out. But it was really like surreal to be like, whoa, I'm real close. I'm like, I can win this.
So Keanu's internet ends up going out.
Yeah.
Nick wins immunity. So I feel like I was told that was the plan. If Nick doesn't win, he's gone, and it's us to the end. Do you think that would have happened or nah?
I definitely think it's possible. I was really worried. I was worried because I had been hearing Nick talk all season about his ability to talk to a jury and convince a jury to vote a certain way. And I was like, well, if Nick is on the jury and he wants me to win, that's great. But if I vote Nick out and he's upset about it, he can then go to the jury and tell them not to vote for me, and that's really bad for my game. So I really I did mean that I would be willing to let Nick go at 4 because I knew that Nick was a threat to win. Not as much as I he ended up not being as much of a threat as I thought he would be. But there was a perception from me that he would be a big jury threat, just from the sense of him being a returning player that we allowed to get to the end. And people being like, what's wrong with you? But I was genuinely concerned about whether he would be bitter against me or not. And I think I would have I definitely would have considered it. I was absolutely not lying about that. It would have been really hard for me to actually execute.
So he wins immunity, and it ends up being a tie between you and me. And I think I during tribal, I was like, I'm voting for Ingrid. Like, Keanu, like, if you vote with me, you have my vote at the end. If I don't, if I get voted off. And there was a plan for you guys that it might be a riddle, so they would have helped you.
Yes.
But surprise, it becomes a puzzle. It becomes a puzzle. Yeah. And we go at it. At that point, my hand is shaking from that freaking challenge. I think your hand was hurting. I don't know.
Shaking, yeah.
And we had just done that challenge, and my body was still hurting. Anyways, we end up doing the challenge, and we know that that's it. Whoever wins this is gonna be top 3. Talk to me, because I was nervous, but I was also determined, and I knew that this was either you or me. And what was going through your head at that point?
Yeah, I was freaking out. I think, as you said, there was a plan to make it a tie. So Keanu was like, I'm gonna vote for you. Are you cool with that? Are you cool with me sending you in? And I'm like, yeah, that's fine. And we were like, I know a thing or two about trivia. And then it ended up not being that. And I was like, oh, shoot. I'll never forget when Corey was like, it's going to be the thing that Sandra's good at in challenges. And you said, sitting on the bench.
And Corey looked at me like, ooh.
Corey looked at me like, you can get voted out now, sir. But yeah, I mean, I was like, I don't consider myself to be amazing at puzzles. I say talking to you. But I was like, I just gotta what I think what stressed me out about it the most was they had told me that they would have my back if it became a riddle. If they knew the answer before I did, they would help me. Or at least give me hints. Whereas with a puzzle, they can't do anything but watch. And I think that really stressed me out, because I was like, I have to do this for myself. And I was sitting there with my phone, moving the puzzle pieces, hands shaking so bad. I was so afraid, but at the same time, I was like, I gotta stay calm and focused. I just gotta be calm and focused. I've seen this logo a million times all season long. I know what I'm doing. I just gotta do it. And so it was I think I agree. It was a combination of nerves, but also determination. I was I've set out to do this. It's gonna really suck if I can't do it, but at the same time, my fate is in my hands right now. If I get into the final 3, it's because I did it.
You end up winning the puzzle, and I get voted off. You are in the final 3, and I will say this is a statistic or a stat that I just thought about today. You're the first female Latina to make it to the final 3 ever. Currently, thinking about that. Yeah, thinking about that right now. How does that make you feel?
Yeah, I mean, I know there's not a big pool of us, but no, it's really great. I remember, my identity as a person is very heavily reliant on my ethnicity and my gender. Those are both very important things to me. I love being a woman. I love being Latina. Those are extremely important to me. And anytime that I can achieve something that represents those groups of people is really important to me, and it makes me feel really proud. And even going into that final 3, I knew that people were going to look at me differently than Nick and Keanu, because I was a woman, and because I was a young woman. I thought, my biggest thing going in I knew nothing about final tribal councils. I didn't know that you're supposed to write a speech.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they don't write a speech in the real show. So in my brain, I was like, I just got to talk about what I know. Um, I didn't even think to cheat the system like everybody else does. But so I really was like talking out of my ass, like nobody's business. But the like plan in my brain coming in and something I had thought about was like, there are two types of young women who take a returning player to the end who is male and dominant. You have Natalie Tenorelli, who went to the end with Boston Rob and idolized him and loved him and had no respect from the jury. And you have Sophie Clark, who went to the end with Coach and really pushed this mantra that while he was the returning player, she was the dominant strategic force. And I really wanted to argue that point because I still do believe that that's true. Obviously, like, Keanu knows how to talk like nobody's business, and nobody knew that. And he really had a plan and was like really thoughtful about it and executed it really well, which is why he won. But the reality is, things went wrong for Keanu more often than they went wrong for me.
Mm-hmm.
I got votes at every tribal I went to, and I never went home. And I always knew that I wasn't going home, regardless of the votes that were coming my way, because I knew who was getting the votes and who the majority was going to be at every single tribal council that I went to. And I was the one, in the driver's seat calling the shots, even though people could see Keanu in front of me or they could see Nick in front of me. I was the one saying, we're going to do this, and then we're going to do this, and then we're going to go do this. And the only time that anything even went remotely off the rails was that Rocks tribal. And at the end of the day, that wasn't that big of a hiccup because we still got there. And it wasn't like super game changing. The game changing move was the merge tribal, which was my decision and my idea. And I knew that that was the stuff I was going to really have to harp on, but I was very nervous. And I like do this thing when I'm really nervous under pressure and I know that people are looking at me, where like my brain just like checks out. I just like black out, and like my mouth moves and my brain is not present. And then eventually I come back, and that's the end of it. So like I couldn't tell you today what I said.
Yeah, because you always tell us this, that you like, I don't remember what I just said, but it's one of the best speeches on your second part because you do start. I think you go first, right?
Yes, they made me go first. I was so mad.
You literally
I don't know what I'm doing.
You do 5 minutes, and I think that then it's Keanu or Nick, and
Nick
goes on forever
for like an hour.
And you're just, I see your face, and you're like, "What? I didn't know we could do that. Like, what is going on?"
Like, I'm trying to be concise. Like, I didn't know I was supposed to tell every detail of my game from start to finish at the beginning. Oh, I'm so irritated.
And also, we'll talk about this, but you mentioned that your mom walks in on your tribal speech.
Yes, that was. Oh gosh, that was so funny because I remember I was like, "Okay, parents, I'm going to go do final tribal now," and she like came up to say goodnight to me, which is like normal, and she was like I was just expecting her to be like good night, and then I could be like good night, and then keep talking, and then she was like talking about like because the voice finale was that night. She was telling me who won the voice. I was like, okay, great, please let me finish my thing. And I was like, this is this is just furthering my point about like being a young girl who lives with her parents, like because it was Christmas break, so I wasn't living at the apartment anymore by that point, which also means that I had finished finals in the middle of this freaking season. That's a trend for me apparently, but. It was so so funny.
You end up giving your final closing speech, and I think that's from my perspective, that's the better speech from your part because like
I would agree, and I don't even remember what I said.
You really hone in and you kind of like speak about being a woman and relating to that. You end up getting 2 votes.
Yeah,
I think I said it in I didn't have a question at that point. I wanted to like really analyze the jury and see how they're feeling. And if I feel like someone, because I often this happens in Survivor where like they have something like maybe you wish they could have helped them, be like, maybe you would have said this, you would have got 2 votes, or like maybe change it up.
That's how I feel about Hannah.
And so
told her she was being too aggressive.
And so I wanted to kind of like say like, hey, this is what the jury is looking for, and this is our perspective. Keanu, say this. Nick, do this. Ingrid, this is what people are thinking. Please say something. And your speech was great. You end up getting 2 votes, 2 people who said that they would not vote for you. Tell me
Mhm.
how that feels, how it felt like as the votes were coming in, seeing
Yeah,
your
I
name.
mean, I knew that I had kind of bombed it. Like I knew I wasn't winning, and I was very disappointed in myself in the sense of like I came into that tribal thinking that I had played the best game and that I was going to win, and that people would see it, and they didn't. And
Mhm,
you said that to me, and it like really like lit a fire under my ass, and being like, if I want a chance at anything, I need to like kick my ass in gear because like I've thought that people saw me this way and they clearly didn't. So I need to then show them what
mhm,
happened. And it's like in a lot of ways I was really like discouraged and almost a little embarrassed, but at the same time like because I still did get votes, like I was very proud of the fact that I did get votes, and I'm still impressed with myself that I got a vote from Corey, who was never even on my tribe. We never
mhm,
interacted the entire season, and he chose to vote for me to win, which is like
mhm,
I knew that that was a testament to who I was, and I actually sent a message to Jen afterwards, who was the other person who voted for me, um, and was like, thank you so much for voting for me. It means a lot. And she like explained like, that I had played a really great game and that she really resonated with what I said about being, a woman and how that changes the way you play the game and things like that, especially in a male dominated season. Um, and so it was kind of like both ends of it. Like I was sad and I was embarrassed that I had played in such a way that people didn't see everything that I did and every way that I pushed, but at the same time I was really proud that I still was able to convince people that I deserved to win. Especially sitting next to Keanu and Nick, who were two really big forces in the game. And I
mhm,
still think that that was my optimal move. I think that that was the best group of people to go to the end with. But at the same time, it was tough because
mhm.
all three of us deserved to win. And so it was like so many emotions.
I will say that I almost compare your speech to your closing speech with like you saying like I am a strong woman, and at times women are not, perceived, and also with being, it looked like Keanu or Nick were doing more things than I was, but you were actually doing all those things behind the scenes. It
Mhm.
reminded me of Sarah Lucina when it was at war, when she's like, "You can call me Lucina, by the way," and how women are like not like they should be allowed to play just like men, and not,
Yeah.
that really kind of was like, wow. And I think that should be always, especially with like, I know we've seen in Corey's org that usually, funny enough, there's always been a woman at the end.
Yeah.
As it's been like maybe 2 women in a season, a woman always makes it to the end, and that's just probably like a
Shout out to
testament that,
Mammers, one of two women on her season, and she won.
yeah,
She's my winner
exactly.
pick. Go
Yeah,
Mammers.
I remember that you said like she's my winner pick, and she actually won. So
From
I would
day
say,
one, she's my winner pick.
that your speech was like really great, and I think you should be very proud because like
Ooh.
going into that, you didn't know what to expect. This was your first org, and you
Very
were the
first. I didn't even know what an org was before Corey's. No idea. And I know it was Keanu's first org as well. But something kind of going off of what you said about like Sarah Lucina, I think that there are, you have like women who are moms or older women on Survivor, and then you have younger women who are seen as inexperienced. And regardless, people either look at the older woman and say like, oh, that's my mom, or that's my grandma, or that's my wife, or whatever, and like see them as this like caring, nurturing person, or they see you as this young, naive little girl. And either way, those two personas that they have in their brain of who you should be, if you try to play aggressively, you're not going to fit what they think you should be. And that's why people get targeted, and that's why people lose respect at the end. Um, and that's like one of the things that makes it really hard for women. You see it like with somebody like Cass, with Chrissy Hoffbeck. You see it with you even see it with Hannah. Like you see it with all these women, even like Angelina or Nora. Well, Nora, people thought Nora was crazy, but that's neither here nor there. She actually has a really great final tribal speech if you go back and rewatch it. They just did not take her seriously whatsoever. And even somebody like, I don't know, Lisa Welchel. These people that like you expect them to behave a certain way, but because they play aggressively, they don't match what you want them to be. And so you don't respect them or you just don't understand. And that has become a detriment to women. And I'm sure that that's probably similar in Big Brother. I'm like new to Big Brother, so I don't know for sure. But like, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a similar concept. I've seen it quite a bit in this recent season that's currently airing. But it is really like, that's one of the things that makes it so hard to be a woman is they want, like, people want to reward aggressive game players, but not if they're women, because they want to see something else from women. And when you don't give them that, they get upset.
Yeah. You end up being a runner-up. Tell me, once the season is over, and I think we had this conversation. We were talking on season 10, but we had this conversation how the stress of the game, and also with you being with finals in school, you have to juggle that, family, friends, the stress from the game. Because at that point, there was this guy who just kept writing your name down, and talked to me. We talked about how it. We all know how stressful it is, and to get voted off and just go through all of that stress. But I think I mentioned this to you. People don't talk about how stressful it is to actually get to the end. And once you get to the end, really, it does something to you. Like the amount of stress as someone who got voted off, you still have to deal with that. Not because, I mean, you get to the end, but you've betrayed people. You've voted them out. So it's almost like a double-edged sword. Talk to me how it was for you once you got to the end. Like, yes, you got to the end, but you had to endure a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and it's like, it's not in my nature for me to be dishonest. It's not in my nature to be disloyal. It is not in my nature to betray people. And I had to do that. And that was really hard. And something that you and I have both talked about as finalists in different orgs is like, when you do final tribal council, you're really put on trial. These people can really grill you for whatever they want to. Because their feelings have been hurt by you. And I'm like, the idea of anybody being hurt by me makes me want to cry. I hate it. If I even think for a second that somebody's mad at me, I like lose my mind. But like, I think Casey had a question in our final tribal council where he asked each one of us what jury management was. And I was like, oh God, Casey's mad at me. And I mean, like, he asked everybody and none of us had amazing jury management. So like, that's for us to say, but it really is like, you have to defend every single decision you made, and it can be mentally exhausting. It can be really stressful. And then like, for me to put all of that work in and then for people to not recognize it was really disheartening. And I was like, wow, these people don't think very highly of me. And that like was really hurtful. And I like walked away from that season. Like, even now, I'm not as close with the people I played with on season 7 as I am with the friends that I made afterwards and some of the people I played with on season 10. And I think a lot of that is like, I felt like those people like didn't like me, or they didn't care about me, or they didn't think that I was a good player, because they didn't vote for me to win. So like, and obviously like, you have to take into account that I went to the end with Keanu and Nick, of all people, Hall of Famers now, and all of that. But like, both in the top 20 best players of all time according to Corey. But like, at the same time, I was really disheartened, and it really like took me, it gave my self-esteem a little bit of a hit, because I was like, wow, like I really thought I played the hell out of that game, and those people did not. And it made me feel like I was pretty less than for a while. And it followed me into season 10, which I know is where we're going, so I could say that. But it absolutely like affected the way that I played season 10.
We end up taking a break, and we do season 8. We do season 9. Was there any part of you that wanted to come back for season 9, and not at all?
No.
No.
I did mod a little bit for season 9, and it was really fun to watch.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like really not in a great place mentally around the time of season 9. I was struggling with depression in a way that I hadn't before, and I was just like, I was in a really tough place, and it would have been really hard for me to try to play a game like that. So I'm glad I didn't do it, because that would have been a lot. It was a weekend of my spring break, so like theoretically I could have. But I'm glad that I just watched it all happen and watched y'all be crazy with each other.
Especially towards the end.
I know, I was rooting for you and Keanu all the way. And
Final
it kind of
four.
worked, but kind of didn't. And it was like, it really was fun to watch it unfold, especially because like I had started to become friends with a lot of these people that had played previous seasons. And so I was getting to watch them play for the first time. And that was really cool. So I'm glad I got to do it from an outside perspective. And I think I'm better off for it.
Then we do season 10, and there's invitations. And
Yes.
was there any part of you that were you down to play, or were you hesitant, or what made you play? Because I feel like you're the type of people that it has to be very special, or it has to be like it has to be the right time, the right, for you.
Yeah. So I remember at the end of season 7, you and I having a conversation where we were like, all right, we know season 10 is going to be an all-star season. We're going to come back and we're going to work together because Keanu made us butt heads and we aren't going to listen to Keanu's crap anymore. I love you, Keanu. But like, and all this, and I like in my brain, that was such a distant thing.
Mm-hmm.
And we get to the end of season 9. He's like, I'll wait a couple weeks to do season 10. And then he didn't. And I was like, Corey, I had actually already committed to play a different org that started later than season 10. And I've told myself I cannot play more than one org at a time because they're so time consuming.
Mm-hmm.
And because of the nature of school, which is extremely time consuming, I was like, I can't do that to myself. So I ended up, my friends ended up convincing me to back out of the other org, which I was like, I hate doing that. But I did it for Corey. And because like I did have like the plan in my head, like I'm very plan oriented, and I had a plan in my head of like, I'm going to play season 10. If I'm asked to play, I'm going to do it. So I did end up doing it. And I do know, like, I was very hesitant to say yes because I knew that I had a lot to do with school. And I didn't know how long it would last. Like season 7 lasted like 2 months or something. Almost like on the dot, where season 10 lasted a million years. And I knew that it was going to be hard, but I wanted redemption because I had, like I was saying before, I had this feeling of like, nobody thinks I'm a good player, which like, that may not be true, but this is the voice that was in my head saying like, nobody thinks I'm a good player. Everybody thinks I'm weak. Like all of this, like I played this great game and nobody knows. And so like, I have to come back and play a really good game so that people know that I'm a good player.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what happened? No. But but like there was also like that deep part of me that wanted to prove myself to people.
Yeah.
And I felt like I had something to prove. And so that was a big motivation to me for actually like going to play season 10. Also, I didn't want to say no.
You end up playing season 10, and you end up in the Nuku tribe.
Yeah.
And we have our first challenge. Nuku wins, and Yara goes to tribal council.
Yes.
And the first person voted off is Jeremy. Talk to me how that was for you, because I know
tragic. It was tragic. Anybody who knows me knows that Jeremy is one of my best friends in the whole world. I love Jeremy. Jeremy and I became friends through season 9. And we actually did have a pregame ride or die alliance. I mean, like ride or die. We were ready to do this. We were so mad we were put on different tribes. And I really I thought they would be okay. Obviously, like we didn't know anything about the dynamics of your tribe. So now that we're postseason and I've heard some things, I understand why they were not in a good position. But I also thought that like maybe their assistance in the challenge would save them, but apparently I was wrong.
I will literally, and I quote what Corey said to us, because there was an alliance, and then we joined in the video call. Corey was like, "Y'all are some cold-hearted bitches."
Y'all are some cold-hearted bitches. That was mean.
Yeah,
and
because
I cried. I cried when Jeremy got voted out. I was like, I wanted to play with them so bad, which is like why y'all voted them out in the first place. But like, I was crushed. I was
not
so
only
upset.
that, they did the video, like all that work. I felt like such an asshole, but I knew it had to be done, and I was just like, oh. And then when Corey said it, I was like, yep. I mean, he wasn't wrong. No, he wasn't, because like we just did that to them. So I was just like, oh my god.
I was so upset. I could not believe it.
They get voted off, and then the game must go on. Your tribe loses immunity, and then you have to go. And oh my god, my reaction to this day,
my heart.
It's Robin, and I was shocked. I was like, what? And talk to me, what happened? What was going through your head afterwards? What happened?
Okay. Ingrid? So there had been talks. The original first boot of Nuku was supposed to be Colin, and that was like what the group had agreed upon. I mean, it was like a large majority. We had like several different alliance chats that included like everybody except like Colin and Thomas. Which we will get to my relationship with Thomas later, because he becomes a very close ally of mine.
Mm-hmm.
But at the time, he was not. And I was working really closely with Austin, surprise, and some other people. And Robin really wanted Bianca to go first.
Mm-hmm.
Now we see that made sense.
Yeah.
But she just like was pushing, and we were like, this is a problem, like, mm-hmm. And it kind of like put a target on her back. And so people were like, oh, I want to people were like, I just, we should get rid of Robin. And I was like, oh, I don't want to get rid of Robin this early. Like, she's a huge threat. She's an amazing player and an incredible person, and I love her so much. Like, I look up to her in so many ways. But I knew like it was going to be so hard. So we were like praying. I mean, I was on a call with Austin probably 20 minutes before the challenge, and he was like, please God, let us win the challenge so that we have time to talk about it and like go through it and not just vote out Robin today. And I was like, please, let's not let us vote out Robin. And we lose the challenge, and I was so angry and so upset, because I was like, oh my God, we're going to vote out Robin. None of us wanted to do it, but we all felt like we had to. And so it ends up being I guess it was 9-2 against Robin. And obviously Alan is the one who votes with her, because they were a super strong duo, as they should be. And I knew Alan was going to be really mad. And I was so afraid of what Alan was going to say to me. And
because at this point, you and Alan had built up this close friendship.
Yes. Alan and I were very good friends. And I remember being like, when Alan was cast on the season, because I was like, I don't want to have to betray Alan, and I feel like I'm going to. And because I didn't want to hurt his feelings. And I remember being really like really hesitant even from the beginning about playing with so many of my friends, because I was like, I'm gonna have to, like, I cannot keep promises to every single person that I want to keep promises to, because it's just not possible. And
I can
I'm gonna hurt people's feelings. And
I can speak from an experience that happened to me on season 9, and it's really hard.
And it's like, I went in and you said you wouldn't write my name down. Nick said he wouldn't write my name down. Alan and Robin both said they wouldn't write my name down. Austin, Jeremy, Dylan.
7 people. You can't take 7 people to the end.
I can't take 7 people to the end. And even after that, I think I had some people like I think like Mariah was talking to me about it, like even Rachel at one point, like, and it was like, oh my gosh, all these people will not write my name down, and I'm gonna have to write theirs down. And I was like, oh no. And like for Robin to be the first victim was heartbreaking. And I knew that like she had some stuff going on in her personal life that was really stressful, and I didn't want her to think that like the connections that I've made with her as a friend were fake because we voted her out, because that was not at all the case. But I also knew I couldn't really talk to her because she had been voted out, so I couldn't explain anything. And Alan just like, we called and he was so angry and he just like yelled at me, and I was really sad, and I was like, no. And Austin had like given me a story to tell Alan that was untrue, and I'm a shit liar, as anybody who's played with me knows. So I try to lie as little as possible because I just am bad at it, and you will know that I'm lying to you. Not because of like any kind of like moral code. I just really I'm not good at it. And so I like tell Alan this lie, and he's like seeing through my bullshit. And he like, I think it made him more mad because he knew I was lying to him. And I just like, I was a wreck the rest of the night. I was just like sobbing, like uncontrolled. I was so upset because I knew I had hurt Robin's feelings. And I now knew that like Alan was really angry with me. And I was like afraid for our like friendship as people. And I was like, I never ever want this game to break friendship for me. Because friendship is way more important to me than the game ever will be.
Yeah.
And so that was a really, really difficult vote. And it actually took Alan and I several weeks and several different votes before we were really like made up the way that we are now. And like, we are now friends again, obviously. And I did have to stand up for myself and be like, look, don't talk to me like that. That's rude. Which is something that I would not have done years ago. And it's something that I'm proud of myself for sticking up for myself. But like at the end of the day, Alan and I are still great friends. It was just kind of a bump in the road at the end of the day, but it was rough. That night was rough.
So then the game moves on, and then Alan gets voted off.
Yes.
Again, you guys lose again. There was no way Alan was going to stay from what he said, that he was at the bottom.
Alan, they all wanted to get rid of Alan because they knew that he had exploded on me, first of all. But I was not completely against keeping Alan. Because Alan then comes to us like a day or two later and is like, well, what about like this or this? Getting rid of somebody else, like getting rid of maybe Mariah because of this or that. And he was telling me things. And I was like, I was hearing him out. Like I was willing to hear him out. But it came to light, I don't even remember who told me, but it came to light that like he was essentially telling everybody a different name. Like throwing everybody under the bus, targeting everybody, targeting Austin, targeting me, targeting whoever.
I will say that that's what Nick was doing once we voted out Jeremy. He was going down the line and throwing everybody under the bus, and it kind of did work. So, I mean, maybe Alan and Nick think the same.
Maybe. But when it came to that point, people were all like, oh, well, at this point, nobody can like truly trust what Alan says. So we did vote Alan out. I think, no, Mariah did not vote for Alan, but I think everybody else did.
She voted for herself, I believe.
She did. She voted for herself. And I remember being like, what are you doing? But okay.
Then we end up, I believe we swap. No, Manners gets voted off, and then we swap. And then you're in the tribe, and you're not with Austin. You're with Dylan, I believe. You and Dylan are together.
Yes, me and Dylan and
Colin and Thomas.
We had the majority. Colin and Thomas and Emma and Tyler Moore against Rachel, Sierra, and Tyler W. Tragic for them.
Talk to me.
Train wreck of a tribe. Are you kidding?
It seems like you got. Oh, we'll talk about this, but one of the things is that challenge with like the Chiefs with the winners. You guys, like our tribe, we won, but I was in that tribe and they were rubbing it in your guys' faces. Like they were like, oh, let's, and because like you guys were working on it
Well, and what made that so frustrating was like we didn't know when the challenge was going to be.
Yeah.
Where it was like, surprise, we're gonna just give you the challenge whenever we want. And I was like, I don't have time for you. And that was the day I was getting my second dose of the COVID vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
And he ends up saying that the challenge was happening while I was driving.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was like, I can't just like pull over and do this challenge, Corey. And so we're going in and like, oh my God, it was tragic. I was so angry. And then y'all rubbing it in our faces. And I was like, I
Not
literally was
this.
sending voice memos to Dylan and I was like, I'm gonna go punch somebody. Somebody's gonna get hurt
Because
today.
like it was bad. Like we won like almost unanimous. Like and you
It
guys
was not
had
even
like maybe
close. It was not. We
yeah
had not even gotten to like Jenna Maraska. It
yeah.
was so. Oh my God!
And
It
on
was
top of
a
that, it was just
blowout.
like we were gloating and just like it was like
I
okay,
was
I
so
think that.
angry. I was like, I'm not talking to nobody the rest of the day. Screw all of y'all.
Um.
I had
So
words I wanted to say to y'all so bad that I just
you
couldn't.
guys had the numbers though, and then Emma gets voted off. What happened there?
Oh my gosh! So I was not in attendance at that tribal,
Mm-hmm.
but I had sent in my vote previously because I was not able to attend tribal, and tribal happens. Emma gets voted out. I had no idea it was happening. I reach out to Dylan. And I'm like, what the hell happened? Dylan knew. Are you talking to me? Because I can't hear you.
Oh, sorry, I was muted. I was responding to Austin saying like because that we were gloating because they were
Hell
kind
yeah,
of.
you were gloating,
I
Austin.
mean, I got
Try
receipts.
again.
You guys were saying. I mean, it wasn't really bad, but it was kind of bad because you guys like, should we say something? And you guys were like, yeah, look, oh, like sending the picture again. So,
Y'all sent
um,
all of the gifs like assholes in a row, and I was like, I kept trying to interrupt it because I was like, y'all mean. But yeah,
Dylan says he was
yes.
so sneaky.
Dylan was so sneaky. Dylan knew that Emma was going and did not tell me, and I believed him. Um,
Oh.
I was so upset, but I was the most upset with Tyler because Tyler was one of the 8 million people that I had to deal with that he was
Mhm.
going to work with me. Um, and
You also had that
like,
bond from season 8 where you
yes, where I helped
were
him
his
win his
partner.
immunity challenge, and we're both from North Carolina.
Mhm.
Um, and so we like had all of these connections. And I was like, Tyler, what the hell happened? And he was like, I promise I won't do anything again. Like I have an advantage. He told me about his advantage at the merge. He was like, I don't know what it's going to be yet, but it's going to be at the merge. Hey, Tyler. And he's like, please, no, like, I know that you're mad at me, but like, I hope we can still work together. And I was like, I don't have a choice. I was like, yeah, that's fine. No idea that Dylan didn't know or Dylan knew. I was now like after the season, I was like, really? I mean, it
Dylan
ended
is
up being
sneaky,
very
but I
beneficial
love
in
it.
the game, but yeah.
So Emma gets voted off, and
Yes.
then Sierra gets voted off because you guys go to tribal council again because Yara doesn't lose. Like, thank God, because otherwise it would have been me. But you ended up voting Sierra. Was it like not a surprise because like there was an alliance, or what happened there?
No, I want to talk a little bit about the challenge that happens before Sierra gets voted out.
Mm-hmm.
Just really quickly, that challenge, for people who don't know, was a challenge where we had to rank ourselves 1 to, I guess it was 8, I think,
Mm-hmm.
um, of trivia ability, and we ended up going head to head against the person on the other side who was ranked at the same number as us. And I was ranked number 1 on our tribe, and y'all had like 5,000 trivia beasts on your tribe. And I had to go against Austin. And at this point, Austin and I were still just friends. And I remember like being like, Austin was the one person that I was nervous to go against. I was like, if they
Mm-hmm.
put anybody else in front,
I got this.
strategic, and they put somebody else in front who's like not the best, and I'm the best, like I can do it. But like with Austin, it makes me nervous because also he was solving riddles like nobody's freaking business. um and so we go in and I'm like, oh my gosh, please do well. And I like, my problem was I knew all the answers, I just couldn't get them fast enough. Like he would get them faster than me, and I just was so like, I was crushed. I cried. I was like, I let my drive down. I felt so bad. And like I didn't even like do that poorly, but like I was really sad. and I was like really what's it called? I was really like disheartened by it. Yeah, screw you, Austin. But I didn't get Sunday Burquest. I was really mad. Like my girl, I was upset. But at the end of the day, like we got rid of Sierra. There was an alliance with the people who were still left from Nuku, and it ends up being. I know Dylan had talked to Tyler W about voting Sierra, and he said he would do it. And to prove that he did it, he would write a heart next to his vote, which is true. That does happen. The other side targets me, and the person that because there was one extra vote that made it like really close, and I think it was Colin who voted for them, and I was like, what the hell's going on here? And I like got really stressed for a second that they were going to blindside me, and I was like, please don't let me go pre-merge. I want to be on the jury. But it ended up being fine, and Tyler W did vote with us, which made it possible for Sierra to go home. And the reason that we chose Sierra was because we felt that, well, first of all, I didn't have any social connection with Sierra, so I was like, okay to let her go, and also we were worried about Mariah at the merge, and I remember preseason Mariah said something about how she wanted to make it to Final Five or more, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's like really far. And it's like, I don't know if I can take her that far, and so I was like secretly hoping that she would get eliminated pre-merge and that I wouldn't have to do it, because if she got eliminated at the merge, she would be like really upset on the jury, and obviously we know what happens. But one of the ways that we thought about like minimizing her ability at the merge, since she ended up on the God Tribe, was getting rid of Sierra, because we knew that they would be close. So that was kind of the strategic aspect of why Sierra.
So after Sierra, we end up merging.
Yes.
Well, Chris R ends up, personal reasons, he ends up quitting. But then there's a challenge, and it's the merge. And then we do a challenge, and you win immunity.
Yeah. It's the only immunity win I have in Corey's org history, which is tragic. And it was given to me. But I knew an alliance had been formed that is known to the general public as Bing Cat, which was Bianca, me, Nick, Gabe, Chris C, Austin, and Thomas. And this is when I started to really form a bond with Thomas, because I was like, Thomas is the only person in this entire game who has voted every single way that I have. So I need to get closer to him, because I know we can work together long term. So I ensured that Thomas was in this alliance, along with Austin, because now we're reunited from our swap. And I knew that Chris C was talking to the people that were not in this alliance, who were targeting me and Dylan. And so I knew that if we did not win immunity, because we knew there were going to be two, that whichever one of us didn't win was going to be screwed. And if both of us didn't win, and obviously you were our target, as you know, and it was like, we knew that you were a really strong player, and we had seen you get, make your way to Final Four twice in a row, and we didn't want you to have the ability to do that. And I knew that Austin had an idol. I knew that Nick had an idol. And so it got down to me and Tyler and Dylan, and I was like, please pick me or Dylan first. Please pick me or Dylan first. And it picks Tyler first, and I was like, no. And Tyler ends up choosing me, and I was grateful, because I knew I wasn't going to be voted out, but I had a feeling it would be Dylan. And Dylan had been my closest ally since the beginning, especially after the swap. And Dylan said it in the comments for this thing, but we had like our whole, like, we had a call where we made our entire boot order that we wanted for the rest of the season. And we were like ready to go. We were getting rid of Austin at like 8. But I hope he still loves me. But uh yeah, it was oh my god, it was crushing. And like I was like, what if Ed has an idol? We don't know if Ed has an idol. And Austin was like, it's gonna be
He
fine.
doesn't have an idol.
Splitting the
Ed
vote.
doesn't have an idol.
We can't risk splitting the votes. And I'm like, there's 11 people. Yes, we can. And then obviously you do play your idol, and I was like, oh my god, we're so screwed. And which was a brilliant play.
Thank you.
And I saw that people did vote for Rachel, and I was so angry because Austin was was the person who like orchestrated. Shut up, Austin! You didn't have all those advantages yet. Austin was the one who orchestrated the split, and then didn't freaking tell me that they were doing a split. I had no idea they were doing a split, and I was like, I would have freaking voted for Rachel too if you had just told me to. Because and if we had had enough people split, we could have saved Dylan. And obviously, like that was really good for Austin's game because I would have chosen Dylan over Austin. Sorry, babe. So like it works out for him. Okay, well, if you didn't orchestrate the split, I would love to know who did. Because that's the impression that I'm under, because you were the one who told me everybody who did it. But yeah, so I was really frustrated that I was not let in on the split. And that was a rough week. That was a really rough week. That was the week that Harlan passed away. That was the week that Sunday passed away. Like, it was a hard week for everybody. And I just, like, could not handle it. And I broke down when Dylan got voted out. I was so upset. Oh, my gosh. I was crushed. But obviously, it wasn't the end of my game, so it's fine. But I was really, really sad. We were robbed by your idol.
I told Dylan this, like, I feel like he was the biggest threat, but looking back, I feel like he's the only person that would have flipped and made a move against Austin or somebody else.
For sure.
I think we just needed time. But Dylan is the first member of the jury, and then like Rachel goes, Tyler goes, but you get targeted like with the Tyler vote, and it becomes a tie.
Oh my god. Most anxiety I've ever had in my life. So that was the Survivor auction. And we did not know there was going to be tribal council. And that still bothers me to this day. And because we really like, we had not decided who we wanted as an alliance to target. And the reason that Tyler gets targeted there is because we knew that he didn't win an advantage of the auction. Like that is the only reason, and that's really unfair to him. But that's like, that was just what it was. And so let me see what Dylan or what Austin just said. Well, dang it. Great. But I was never super close to Bianca anyway. But I was close to Austin and Nick and Dylan. So why didn't anybody tell me? Anyway, so they vote for me, and we knew that somebody had flipped because we were like, there's no way that these people keep getting numbers. We keep voting them out. Why is it still so close every time? And I don't remember who I thought flipped initially. I did not think it was Thomas. I think I might have thought it was Tyler because Tyler had been left out of the Rachel vote and had gotten really upset about it. So I think I assumed it was Tyler. And when it tied, I was like freaking, I was so nervous. And obviously now I know Austin then goes to Mariah and is like, please don't vote Ingrid out. I'll do whatever you want. And Mariah tells him to vote out Gabe next round. And he says, sure. And she votes to keep me, which is like, thanks, y'all. Sorry, Mariah. But like, ooh, I was so nervous. And I mean, like, at the end of the day, every time that I was getting close to being voted out, I was like, this game is so stressful. Like, I'm already like doing so many other things. Like, if I get voted out, like, it's one less thing for me to worry about. But at the same time, I want to do well. So it was very, very stressful, but we made it through. And I ended up talking to Thomas afterwards because we love you too. We talked about like we had figured out that Thomas was the one who flipped. Um, and so I knew that it was going to be my job to reel him back in because he was closest to me out of anybody in the alliance. Um, and he was like, I'm just worried about a Gabe, Nick, and Austin final three. And I was like, Thomas, you know what's not going to happen? That. Those people are too afraid of each other. Yeah, they'll keep each other around for now for meat shields, but they are way too afraid of each other to sit together at the end, all three of them. That's not going to happen. Trust me. And obviously by this point, Austin and I are like this. And I truly did believe that he was not going to turn on me. And so I was like, as long as we're in good with Austin, we're fine. Like, we're not going anywhere. So just relax.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, Austin and I had a hopeful projected final four of the two of us, Bianca and Thomas, with the, at least from my end, the intent to send Thomas and Bianca to fire, and whichever one of our side alliances wins gets to sit with us. But that's not what he had in mind. But whatever. So I knew that that was my job, and I think I did it pretty successfully because he did continue to vote with us after that.
A lot of things could have been that season.
So many things could have been. If Chris R stays in the season, it's a totally different season. If Dylan doesn't get voted out at the merge, it's a totally different season. So it's really crazy.
So after that, Tyler goes, Mariah gets voted off because Gabe doesn't go. And then you get to the Austin vote out. Were you shocked?
Yes, I was completely blindsided. I was not being very social that day. I had a huge paper due. This is right in the middle of my finals week. I had a huge paper due. I spent like 8 hours working on this paper all day long. And then I was there for tribal. I don't even remember what the immunity challenge was. But I had no idea Austin was going. I had talked to, I had been like talking through if I wanted to continue to work with Austin or not, because I was very nervous. I was the only person in the game who knew just how many advantages he had. And I knew that there were 2 opportunities left to get him out before he could make it all the way to the end. And I was like kind of burdened with that information because I was like, gosh, what's going to happen here is either I'm going to let him do that and him and I will get to the end and people will think that I was carried there by him, or I orchestrate something to vote him out and he's going to know that I did it because I was the only one who knew, and he could be really upset with me. And we were starting to become more than friends at this point. And so I also was like, I don't want him to think I'm playing him from like an emotional friendship standpoint and from a relationship standpoint. Like, my feelings for him, as everybody knows, were completely real. But at the time, how was he to know? And I didn't want him to think I was playing him. And I was very, very troubled by this decision. And I knew that, I had decided at that point, I was considering very heavily talking to Nick after that final 11 vote and being like, do we want to do this, or do we want to like gamble trying to do it later? And obviously y'all beat us to the gun and got rid of him. And so like from one time once, like I was really upset because we'd worked so closely together, and he did a lot of heavy lifting for me, and I'm not even going to pretend that he didn't, in terms of social things while I was sitting there trying to finish my semester. But at the same time, I was really like, I was glad I wasn't the one who had to do it. And I felt like I was free to play my own game afterwards because I didn't have to just do whatever Austin wanted to do, which is not to say that he was the only one making decisions, because I absolutely had input and was calling shots at the same time. But like, I didn't have to keep what he wanted in mind anymore. I could just play my game, and do what was best for me.
And at that point,
I make the mistake of going to the end with another alpha male and people saying the same thing that they had already said before, when the whole point of me playing Game Changers was to change that narrative about myself.
And I will say that at that point, like, you not knowing that, Austin was going home, it kind of like, you didn't have to betray him. You didn't,
Yeah,
turn on him. So I think,
exactly.
I mean, not to quote Gabe, but Gabe was like, he's like, this is good for your game.
No, it absolutely it was good for my game in a lot of respects. The only way that it was bad for my game really was that I was on the bottom.
Hmm.
Um, that was really what made it hard for me, and that was the very first time I ever had to play for the bottom because I was never on the bottom in season 7. Like that alliance ran the whole game from start to finish. So it was a new adventure for me. Yay. I stayed losing ride or dies that season. Every time I got one, they were voted out. Because even after that, I was like, okay, well, my ride or die is Thomas. And we're gonna somehow get to the end, maybe with Nick. Because
Gets
Nick
voted
made a
off.
group chat and was like, I only trust you people because Nick was also left out of the vote. And the next person to go is Thomas. And I was like, no. I had a conversation with Gabe where he was like, and I brought it up in my jury speech, like he was kind of telling me how to play moving forward. And I was like, I don't know if you should have said it like that. But one of the things that he said to me, because a small alliance was made called Binge, Bianca, Ingrid, Nick, Gabe, Ed. As you know, never worked together, but it existed. And Gabe was like, nobody in Binge is getting voted out, but you're still going to be upset about it. And I was like, what does that mean? I should have known it was Thomas. I was not the one who put it together. I was talking to Nick right before Tribal, and he was like, Thomas is going home. And I was like, what do you mean? And he was like, think about it. And I was like, oh. So Thomas did go home. And I was like, I cannot keep an ally in this game ever. So then it was really me and Nick against everybody. Which is finally when you reach out to me.
Yeah, I do reach out to you because at that point I feel like there's nobody left that I can well, she'll be more loyal to them. And at that point I knew that you were at the bottom and I was like, okay, I now have an opportunity to talk to her, really work with her, and by extension Nick, because we had been on a tribe for a long time,
Yeah.
and he told me that we needed time to work with each other. So I was like, I have this plan. Let's target Gabe, and you were down with it, and Nick
Yes.
was down with it. Unfortunately, it didn't go through, but at least you guys stayed safe, and it was Colin who won. Were you
Yes.
nervous?
I was so nervous. Because I knew that if it didn't work, like Gabe was one of the people that I talked to consistently after Austin was voted out.
Mm-hmm.
And he was one of the few people that I was talking to consistently. And I knew that if I tried to vote him out and he did not go, that I was going to have to do damage control, and I didn't want to do damage control. And I mean, even Gabe was shocked that he was not the one voted out as the votes were coming in. I remember looking at his face like, and I was like, what happened? But I think I was really afraid of it not working because I didn't want to have to do damage control and I didn't want to have to lie. And so actually after Colin gets voted out, I don't think I talked to Gabe at all. I think I talked to Gabe like once because I was like afraid of like having to lie to him. Like, I'm not on your side if I'm not talking to you because that means I'm withholding information.
Yeah.
Because I can't lie. But so it just ended up being really like, I was very, very nervous and it didn't go the way we wanted. I was like, because I knew that if it had gone the way we wanted, the game completely changes.
Mm-hmm.
And we could have been in a power position. But
Yeah. And then we get to the top 8, and that's the family, the loved ones visit challenge. You end
yes.
up doing the challenge with your best friend, I would say,
Yes.
in real life. Katie, am I
Katie,
pronouncing?
yes.
And I know Katie because like you reference her all the time with like
Yes.
a meme
She's
or
my
something.
roommate. She's my best friend. Love her.
How special was it for you to like do your first loved ones challenge with your best friend who you talked to about like getting blindsided, like making
Yes.
to the end, and to
I
actually
made
complete
Katie a
with her?
Survivor fan. She knows and likes Survivor because of me. She's very excited for season 41. We're gonna get to watch it together, which is really cool. It was really cool to get her to help me and also like like you said, she really like has heard so much about the game, and like she knew like the game had taken over my life in a
Mhm.
really big way. And so like it was all she ever heard me talk about. Like I was either on the phone with Austin talking game, or obviously after Austin was voted out, I was talking game to her. um like, oh, what should I do? I don't know. And everybody but Corey was getting confessionals from me. But it was really cool to like get her to be a part of it. Was really fun and really awesome. And it actually, I genuinely believe that I would have not lasted as long as I did in that challenge if it weren't for Katie. I think Katie being there to be motivating and all that kind of stuff was really, really helpful.
I will say, like, I talked this with Gabe, but like the loved ones were the MVPs of that challenge. Like they really like
Hell
Nick's
yeah.
sister, Gabe's sister, Tyler's loved one, just being like
Yes.
you're a ballerina, and then Katie there being with you, just her being there, doing the challenge.
Yes.
I know that meant a lot for me with my sister because
Hmm.
she's very like camera shy, but like I was like please, and it just meant so much. Even though I was like, if we don't win, I'm just like thank you so much for doing this. Um, and then unfortunately, you don't win immunity, and you go to tribal
Yes.
council, and that's when something gets played.
Hmm.
Nick wins immunity, but
Yeah.
they use the walkaway
So,
advantage for Nick to.
yeah, I knew that Nick had an idol, because he had found the idol that had gone back into the game after Austin was voted out. Um, and also, I had the legacy advantage from Austin, but my legacy could not be used until the final four, or the final five. I think it was levels of doom, or was that final four? I don't remember. Um, Tyler's
Final
the one
four.
actually getting to use it. Um, but um, Katie, we were talking about how much we love you and your awesome work in the Loved Ones Visit Challenge. Um, but so I knew that Nick had an idol, and we knew that we were probably going to have to use it at this tribal council.
Mm-hmm.
Because the odds were like super stacked against us. And I was like, he had given me his idol, I think, at the previous tribal council in case he got voted out, because he assumed like that he would be the target if it weren't for Gabe or something. Um, and I had given it back to him as like a common courtesy because it's his idol. And I was like, maybe you should give me the idol before tribal, just in case. And then if we think it's you, I'll play it on you. And if it's me, I'll play it on me. And he was like, no, I'll play it on you if you feel like we need to. And I said, okay. And then we get to tribal, and the forced no go is used on Nick. And as soon as that happened, I was like, I'm so screwed. I knew it was me immediately when that happened. I was like, yep, this is it. This my luck has run out. Um, and like if only I had not given Nick his idol back. And he has said to me postseason that like he was worried that I would go home with it in my pocket. And I was like, Nick, if I'm carrying your idol and they force you to not go to tribal council, I'm playing that shit so fast before we say anything else. You ain't voting for me. Like I would have used it so fast. Um, um, where Katie talks about how the orc has
I
controlled my life. Um,
I would love that. Actually, we could have you both and just talk about all the things that.
yes, all the things that she's heard that she's like, what the hell's going on, Ingrid? All of the random like notes from season 10 throughout our apartment that still exist that I never needed because I didn't make levels of doom. Um, but yeah, as soon as Nick is forced to walk away from tribal, I knew that it was me going. I knew in my heart of hearts that it was going to be me. Um, and then of course, you messaged me during tribal saying that you're gonna vote me out, and I knew and I understood. I
I
didn't know you were gonna do it, but when you told me, I understood why, and I was like, it
I
is what it is.
I physically started crying. I don't know if you could tell
I
from Kim.
could, and honestly, it like I was sad you were crying, but it also like made my heart feel good for a lot of different reasons. Like part of it was like it was kind of a cool ending to our chapter, starting, you know, as allies and becoming rivals and then becoming allies again. Was really cool. That's the first time one of us really genuinely had to vote the other out, which is crazy because even though I voted for you in season 7, it was the puzzle that really took you out, not me. Even though I beat you. But yeah. And also just like it made me realize that like I still did make social connections outside of Austin, because I was really feeling like I was really not in a great headspace because I was so stressed with school and all these things that like I wasn't being the social player that I know I can be. And I knew that people saw that from me, and I knew that people were not taking me seriously anymore. And I was like, wow, this sucks. So like for you to show that emotion for voting me out made me realize like these people still do like appreciate me and care about me, which like felt good, even though it sucked to be voted out.
You get voted off and you join the jury.
Yeah.
At this point, I didn't know this, but we talked about this with somebody else. You fell in love. You found love. Um,
Yeah.
eh, Mr. Ronald. I never called him that. I just wanted to be funny. But talk to me how
I
it
call him that when
was.
I'm upset with him.
Okay.
Not upset.
But talk to me from, I guess, from more than a friendship, but what was it to actually fall in love with together, the both of you, in
Yeah.
this game that's so stressful, and
Yeah.
at times lean on with him and be like, you know what, we're both going through this, and just like it's a game, but you also be like you can be yourself and kind of like take that survivor mask off and just
Yeah. It was crazy because like Austin and I were friends preseason, but like not super close. Like we would talk. The thing about me and Austin is that we can talk for hours. Like this interview's been going for 2 hours. Good job, Ingrid. But I won't make it 3. But
blindsided.
Austin and I, like, even before season 10, like he would just like be going to Taco Bell or something. He'd be like, "Hey, can I call you? Like, just to have somebody to talk to while I'm driving." I was like, "Sure." And then we'd end up like talking till 3 a.m. when we both have work or school in the morning. And like there was just always been some sort of like connection even before I saw it. Just between the two of us as people. And going into season 10, he was like, "You know that like you're like a really high priority on my list of allies, right?" And I was like, "Oh, am I?" Ooh. And I had seen Austin play season 9. And I was like, I don't want to. It's like I don't know if I want Austin to be my ride or die on this season. But then it was like, shit, like I'm gonna have to, because like I don't want to betray him, because I feel like it would hurt his feelings, and I really care about him as a person. And the season goes on, and I did have feelings for somebody else, and I would express my frustrations with that person to Austin, and he would be quiet and listen. And as time went on, it just like we were talking more strategically. What do you mean? And
Austin, I think your hair is kind of reddish. If it helps.
I don't know, but where was I even going with that before he rudely interrupted my thought process? So like as the season went on, like we talked strategically, and it went from just us talking strategically to like us talking all the time. And eventually we were on Zoom playing Among Us with some friends, everybody's scary alliance that turned on each other super early in the game. The cult. We were playing Among Us one night, like getting drunk, having fun, and before we played games that day, Austin and I were on the phone actually for like 6 hours. Tyler. We were on the phone for 6 hours before.
6 hours?
Jesus. Yes. we started, it was like a Friday, so I didn't have classes that day. And we were talking game, and then it just like became like personal stuff. And then I was driving around looking for a very specific drink, because we
Iced
were playing
coffee?
games and drinking that night. No, it was
Yeah.
like an alcoholic drink. It was
Okay.
I get triggered by buzz balls now because I'm allergic to them, but I didn't
Okay.
know at the time. Um, and so he like came with me on FaceTime on my journey to find the buzz balls. And I mean, like, we genuinely, like, I went to like 4 or 5 different stores, like freaking out. And he was like, I had never been to a liquor store before because I had just turned 21. And like, I was like freaking out, and he was like, was there for the whole thing. And like, we were on the phone like all day. And then we got on and played with our friends, and we were apparently flirting. I don't remember because I was a little intoxicated. But like, I think it was like Jeremy the next day was like, you were totally flirting with me. I was like, no, I wasn't. Not possible. I don't flirt with people. And from there, it just kind of like unfolded. And then one night at like 5 a.m., after we'd been on the phone for hours and hours and hours, I was like, I should probably tell you something. And he's like, if you're gonna tell me you like me, just tell me you like me. And I was like, yeah. And he's like, oh, that's good because I like you too. And I was like, great. And that's kind of like the day we officially started talking. I'm trying to think of when that would have been in terms of season 10. I think it was definitely post merge. But like early. I think it was like pre
After
Mariah.
Tyler?
Yeah. Like after
Okay.
Tyler, before Mariah. And he might be able to confirm that. I don't know. But we knew pretty quickly that it was like, I don't want to say serious, but like
It was gonna be something.
he bought me a plane ticket like a couple days after that to come see him. And like, obviously, like, other people were already meeting up, so it just like happened to work out. But like, he bought me a plane ticket. And I was like, oh my god. And then came the, how are we going to pretend this is not happening for the game? Because
I had no idea, by the way. When you told me, I was just like, was that emoji with the eyes and the lips in the middle, like, and then but at the same time, when you told me, I was really happy, and I told you this. I was happy for you and for him because, like, everybody deserves love, and the fact that if you can find love in such a environment that's so stressful at a time where it's so, things are so complicated, things are going back to normal, and I know that you're like super busy with schoolwork, and like I was really happy for you, and I was just like, do, like, go ahead, do you, like, enjoy. So yeah.
it's like, it's brought me so much happiness just in general. Oh yeah, that's true. That what Austin just said is true. I like spent a couple days talking to Jeremy and Ellen right before we had our conversation about whether I liked him or not. Because I at first I was like, do I like him or do I just think he's nice? And like, they were both like, Ingrid, stop lying to yourself. And I was like, okay, fine. And then I was like, but what if he doesn't like me? And they were like, Ingrid. I was like, fine. So then I told him. I tried to get Dylan to like spy for me and be like, hey Austin, so Ingrid, what about her? And then he never did it, so I had to do it myself. Thanks, Dylan. But it's okay. Yeah, and it just like, it started out with only a couple people knowing. Like, Nick knew because he was like good friends with people that knew outside of the game. And I ended up telling Gabe. I don't know what possessed me, but I told Gabe. Austin was really mad that he wasn't the one who got to tell Gabe. He told Bianca. I told Thomas. Just like the people that were really close to us before somebody else told them, because we didn't want them to feel like blindsided by it. Because we also, like, we were trying really hard for it to not affect how people perceived us on a game level. And obviously, even after Austin got voted out, it was like, can we tell people? And I was like, no. Because what if they vote me out then because they know you're on the jury? And it's like, oh, my boyfriend's on the jury. And we ended up not telling people. We told you, I think, after I was voted out. We told you. Because I was like, I want Ed to know. Ed deserves to know.
I will say I kept your secret. I didn't say anything.
Thank you.
When you revealed, I was shocked when you revealed on the Facebook page. I was like
Mhm.
shocked, but also happy because I was like, it's like, I feel like I wouldn't say that's not fair that you got to share like your love out there because I feel like it's you should be able to
Yeah,
regardless of like there's a game, and I feel like it was almost kind of like you were putting that on hold, to
we
like.
absolutely were. We absolutely were. And like part of it was like we didn't want to become an official uh 3 days after Dylan was voted out. I knew it was post merge because I knew Dylan had been voted out. Um but I didn't know how close, far, I don't know. Um but yeah, we definitely did put being public about it on hold. And I am a very authentic person. I'm very open. Like everybody knows everything about me, as you can tell by the fact that I can't stop talking. Um, but I was very like, part of me was not upset to be voted out because it meant that we could finally be public about it. And like part of it was like we didn't want to be an official couple till we'd met in person. Um, because um because I didn't want to like, we wanted to make sure the spark was there in person, and it's there. So
Fireworks.
not even like that, but it's just like we definitely still have the connection in person that
Mhm.
I like didn't know was gonna happen.
Did you
Um,
did you also sing "Defying Gravity" like Camila Cabello when she went on her first date with Shawn Mendes?
no, um, but he did pick me up from the airport. Where is it? With this bear. Where is she? She's
Oh,
on my bed usually in a Hufflepuff robe because she is a Hufflepuff like me. Um, and if you squeeze the paw, it asks me to be his girlfriend. So I won't do that because he'll lose his mind. Um, but he picked me up from the airport with that and some flowers, and it's really cute. And I was like, I can't believe this is my life. Um, and it's been wonderful from the very beginning, and like to have each other to confide in the game was really wonderful, and to like now be really partners in life in a way. Like long distance sucks so bad, but like he really is my person, and it's really crazy to think that I found him this way. Like this is not what people think it would be. And then I have people like are like, "How did you meet your boyfriend?" And I'm like, "I'm a nerd and I watch Survivor and I play Survivor with other people on the internet, and that's how I met my boyfriend." Is like really weird to say people. But like he F in the chat for long distance. Absolutely. Long distance sucks. But like I wouldn't do it for anybody else. Um and it's completely changed my life in the best way. Um, he's been such a support to me through everything, through the end of the game, through my thought process after the game of like feeling like I um, didn't live up to my potential, like through the jury phase, where we voted for different people to win the game.
I was just gonna ask you that, but
Yes.
I'll ask you later.
Mhm.
Go on.
And like just through even like with my schoolwork and like my summer classes, and like we went to Disney World and I still had to do summer classes, and he like made me want to die less about it, through the whole thing. But it's like he's the absolute best, and I couldn't ask for a better person. um
Would you
to
say
be
that he's your favorite person?
Yes, he is my favorite person. Sorry to everyone. No, but I have multiple favorite people, Ed.
Mhm.
You're gonna get me in trouble.
No, I
Um,
mean like in this criteria.
yes. He is my partner. He is my life partner, and I truly believe that. And I believe that we are meant to be together, and that the whole reason I found that little ad on Fanjury in the first place was to find him and to find the group of people that I now know and love. Ah, that is true. The final
I,
tribal changed everything.
I like that Katie actually like she's like bringing in like she knows her stuff. Like
She does. She knows what she's talking about. She listens to me talk. Yes, I still do love you, Dylan, I promise. And Jeremy, who's probably not watching, but that's okay. Still love you. But yeah. No, Katie was here during Final Tribal, I'm pretty sure. So I was giving her updates as things were going on. But like to her point about like Final Tribal changing everything, we had no expectations for Chris going in at all. And
I changed my mind as well, just like you.
He exceeded our expectations, and I've spoken about this before, with some people and maybe with you, but I do think that Chris benefited in some ways from being American, which sounds weird, but like, you know, everybody is familiar with the sound of an American accent. So he was easier to understand sometimes than like Bianca or Gabe was. And like, obviously my dear friend Gabe is long-winded. And so it's harder to concentrate. It was like to the point where like he was talking and I was like, Austin, I don't know what he's saying. I don't understand. And like Austin was like trying to translate Gabe ease for me. As like I was trying to like figure out what was going on. We do love Gabe. I adore Gabe. But I was just so like, and also like Gabe was such a strong front runner that like me being the underdog kind of person, I wanted somebody else to root for. And I was just like looking for somebody to give me something. I wanted to vote for Bianca, but I just didn't see what I needed from her as a juror, which was really sad. So I ended up voting for Chris because I felt like he really proved himself in his speech. But I do really think that Gabe suffered from us having really high expectations of him versus Chris having very low expectations. So like Chris like exceeded the bar, but his bar was here, where like Gabe's bar was already up here and we wanted him to be here. And he was like here. So I think like yeah, that's absolutely true. I can't stand seasons of Survivor where you know who the winner is very early on. And I was like so excited to be on the jury, and I was like, I didn't want somebody to just demolish the game. Like I wanted to fight. I wanted to have to think about who I was going to vote for. And so like with Gabe like continuing to do that, I was just like, oh my God, I want some to think about somebody else. Not because Gabe played a poor game at all. He played a fantastic game. And I'm absolutely glad that he got votes because he deserved them. And so did Bianca, frankly. But like at the same time, I ended up voting for Chris because he made me think, and he challenged my thinking of how the game went. And he was so confident in his answers. He was never nervous. He was really bold and spoke with conviction, which Peridium talks about in his Tribal Council Performances video.
I literally watched that from my final tribal speech, and I challenged that, like, going into it, because I could not be like nervous and stuff. And I also got help from Gabe, so which I'm thankful. But yeah, I agree with you. A lot of the way that Chris just handled those questions, he was like, I think he said at the beginning, he's like, I honestly think I played the best game here, and I was just like, okay.
Exactly. He came out of the gate like, boom, I'm ready to tell you what's up. And I was like, thank God. So that was a big part of my reasoning for voting for him.
Were you and Austin like, was that a conversation you guys had afterwards?
Yes, it was. I knew he was upset. Because, well, and like Austin was such a champion of Gabe on the jury. And that's true. I do enjoy being blindsided by the winner a little bit. Leave me alone. I love Sabrina. I wanted Sabrina to win when it was airing live, even though I knew she wasn't going to. But you know, what was I talking about?
About voting.
Yes,
differently.
we voted differently. and I knew like going in that he was Gabe's biggest champion. He was so afraid that Gabe wasn't going to get the votes or he wasn't going to win. And I remember like genuinely feeling kind of bad that I didn't vote for Gabe. But I was like, I'm voting for the person that I want to vote for. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Like, um, oops. Uh, but I mean, like at the end of the day, it wasn't like a super big deal. But we did have a conversation about it, and we had a conversation about why Chris got the number of votes that he did, and what Chris did well that Gabe did not, and things like that. So, thank you, Tyler. Who is Kim? I don't know her. Huh?
The one with the baby blue eyes.
The one with the baby blue eyes. Keanu with baby blue eyes.
Uh, so Chris ends up winning. Great winner, by the way. All
Yes,
three.
absolutely.
I'm glad that all three received votes because I
Yes.
feel like they all did a great job. Um, so season 10 is over. I forgot to ask this question about season 7, but after playing season 7 and season 10, was there anything that you took away from both seasons? Something you learned, something your proudest achievement, and your toughest thing to overcome?
Yeah. I think my proudest achievement. I'm gonna do a twofer here. I'm gonna do. Um, I was really proud of both the Brian and Maggie vote outs from season 7 because I felt like I had a really big say in them and they changed the game. Um, and obviously, I'm incredibly proud to have my relationship, um, which I have because I played season 10, and I think that maybe Austin and I would have still gotten to the point of relationship without season 10, but I think it would have taken a lot longer. Um, Whereas because we were already having to talk to each other more often to discuss strategy, it kind of like propelled our relationship more. So I'm really, really grateful for that, and I'm really proud that I have that. Thanks to a lot of people who told me to open my eyes. But yeah, in terms of like things to overcome, like I've kind of already touched on it. Like I have always had a slightly negative self-image, and like having to overcome the losses and the blows, especially losing season 7 in the way that I did, and like being perceived as a goat was something I really did not want. And I had to overcome that a lot. And even like after season 10 was over, um, I was told by people that I will not name that my game was weak and that I um, did not do well socially, and that I just followed all of the greats around, and that people were only going to vote for me to win on the jury because they were my friends and not because of the game that I actually played, and things like that. And I really did take that to heart, and it really did hurt me. And it's something that I've had to take a lot of time to overcome. And those kinds of things are kind of why I'm on a bit of a org hiatus right now, because I want to be able to focus on school and finish school before I actually like try to go in and play a strategic game, because I want to be able to give it the time that it deserves. And I don't think I was able to do that for season 10, and that was something that I really had to overcome. And I've had to like remind myself that like I'm not a shitty player.
You were runner up on your ever first org.
Yeah.
You were the last female standing. You got 2 votes from people who said that they would never vote for you.
Hmm.
I think that's a great accomplishment.
Yeah.
As a person, you're amazing, and we all love you, not just because if you're a great player, but because of the person that you are, and the charisma that you exude. So I think you should be very proud of yourself, Ingrid. No matter what one person says, that's their opinion. Deep down, you need to know that it was your game, and at the end of the day, you just own up your game, and that was your journey.
Well,
Um,
thank you.
that's just my opinion on that.
You're the best. I love you.
We'll talk about the thing that you're currently playing, which is the Amazing Race.
Yeah.
You're one of the 10 teams that are currently playing still in the game.
Yes.
Talk to me how that has been, and also your partner John. Um,
Who's not Austin? Everybody
yeah,
was like, "Why aren't you playing with Austin?" It's because Austin and McKenna had a deal already to play with each other before I even existed. But I've had so much fun playing with John. we actually have made a really great team. I think that we have different strengths, and because we have different strengths, we're able to use that to our advantage. Because the places where he struggles, I succeed, and vice versa. Like every time we have an Instagram challenge, John is like, "Go, Ingrid. I don't know anything about Instagram," and I'm like, "I got you." And he like will solve like the little word scrambles super fast, and I'm like, haven't even processed what letters are on the screen, um, and things like that. And we have done really well, and I'm really proud of us. And I always like wanted to make sure that I didn't just like weigh John down, because John, you know, was a challenge beast in season 9, and I wanted to do well for him, because I didn't want people to think that like he was carrying the team. And the more that we play, and the better we do, the more that I know that we are a team, and it's not just John doing everything, and it's not just me doing everything either. Like we have a great time doing it. Um, it's a lot of fun.
I heard there was a challenge that was really fun that you guys enjoyed. I think it was like, was there like dancing involved, or is that?
Yeah, there was the on the leg that we were a super team with Bo and Abby, there was a dancing challenge. And Bo danced for our team, which is really fun. And Austin danced for his team, and I got to see the video, which is awesome. And then in this last leg, there was a singing challenge that was really fun too. Um, and I did it, but I wasn't good. And at the end of my video, I said something like, "Please never let any of my voice teachers ever see this video. I'm gonna get fired." Um, but it was a lot of fun. It was so much fun.
Moving on from that, I wish you all the best of luck along with the other 9 teams. I
Thank
think whoever
you.
wins truly deserves it. You guys are doing amazing. I know it's not easy. These challenges are hard, but I
Mhm.
think that you guys are trying to like go with it and just have fun, which is the most important thing to do. Um,
Exactly.
um, Moving from that, let's talk about Real Survivor. Survivor comes back next week for after a long
Yes.
hiatus. Are you excited for the new season?
I'm excited and I'm nervous, because I know that like they're marketing it as being like really different from any season that's come before it. And
Mhm.
Survivor is my comfort show. I know what I want from it, and I don't want different things from Survivor. And so I'm nervous that the changes are going to be like really like drastic and really like fundamental, and I don't want that, because I
Mhm.
love the show that already exists. I'm a purist. What can you say? Um, but I am really excited to get to know new players, and
Mhm.
get to see how they, do the game. We've been waiting for a new season for so long that it's like it's just even exciting to have at the prospect of having more Survivor. Um, is really exciting. Yes, the apartment is ready. We're ready for our viewing parties for Survivor 41. I'm Team Ricard, if anybody is wondering.
Me too. Me too.
I
Yes.
want Ricard to win. Um,
I friend
I'm
requested him on Facebook and he accepted me.
same.
Yes.
I love Ricard. I'm very Team Ricard. If by some prospect he sees this, that would be really cool. I don't know if he will. Probably not. But like, um, I'm rooting for Ricard all the way. Um, Austin was not rooting for Ricard until today, but that's okay. Um, he was rooting for Sydney.
Mm.
But I think this cast is really cool and really like diverse, and I love the diversity of it. Um, and I'm hopeful that if it's not Ricard, I hope it's a woman, because we haven't had a woman win Survivor in a million years, and it would be great to see another female winner, because it's been,
I believe if Sarah Lacina was the last one.
I think so. Like we've had 6 or 7 seasons of just men.
Yeah.
Ugh. I want to see a woman win. But if it's not a woman, I want it to be Ricard, because I think he's awesome. Um, and he seems like a really strong player preseason.
Talking about like diversity, how what does it mean to you as a fellow Latina to see more diversity, not just Latinos but African Americans and Asian people
Yeah.
represented on the screen as a show that we love, and the changes that are happening as it goes, not just like with twists, but also with more diversity on Big Brother and Survivor.
Yeah. I think it's awesome. I have not loved the cookout on Big Brother, but not because
Mhm.
it has absolutely nothing to do with race at all. It's just that the characters that I liked on this season of Big Brother, most of them were not in the cookout, so I was sad to see them go. Um,
Derek
but
X,
Derek X, I love Derek X.
Claire.
Derek X and Claire are my faves, and I also really love Brittany. I'm like the only person in the world that love Brittany and Sarah Beth, but you know what? That's fine. But I'm really excited to see more people of color on these shows because we have so much to give, and like I think that I'm hoping from here on out, like yes, it's important that we acknowledge that these people um, have not historically been able to win these shows, partially and primarily because of their inability to be cast. But like I hope moving forward, especially after the cookout, like ensuring that there will finally be a black winner of Big Brother. I hope that we can find a way to celebrate our diversity, but also see past race a little bit without, this is in no way me saying like, oh, race doesn't matter, because it absolutely does. And everybody's experience with race is different. But I want to see, because of this new rule that CBS has, I want to see more women, of course, and more people of color win these games organically, because they're great players. And like the people that are left on Big Brother, a couple of them are really good players. They got rid of the two best players last time, but that's okay. Technically, these people are better players because they're going further, but whatever. But at the end of the day, I think it's going to be really, really a good thing, and we're going to get to see more diverse winners of these seasons and of these shows. And like, it's a huge accomplishment and celebration for fans of color to see people like them on the show, and for fans who eventually get cast on the show that eventually could win because they have a more equal shot of getting cast in the first place. We do stand Tiffany and Chada in this house. I love them. Not as much as Derek X, but I love them.
I will say on that note, they are making history next Wednesday. They will be the first African American to win Big Brother. It has not happened, and the fact that it's actually happening is definitely a huge achievement.
Huge deal.
So I'm excited for that, and I'm also excited for the new era of Survivor because it is 41. So there's a new era for like strategic mindsets and like gameplay. I know, yes, and we saw that in the voting blocks in 33 with yes, with Hannah. So I'm excited to see what these players do, and because it's always fun. I know I do love my returnees, but sometimes it's like, oh, the third time, the fourth time, and it's like, can we get new people here? I love her. I love her.
We love Aubrey. We are part of the Aubrey fan club, but
yeah.
She needs a break.
Yeah, she does. She was trying to be the new Boston Rob, and in female. This was like her fourth time, I think.
Boston Rob.
I like Boston Rob at the beginning. I don't really like him right now because I feel like it's like
he's
overhyped.
Such a one-trick pony. People give him too much credit.
I will say that I was impressed by Sophie's speech in Yara when they voted him out. It's just like these idiots are not even strategizing, and he's like, oh, proven strategy, with Rob, and then he gets voted off, and then Sarah and Sophie just look at each other after he gets voted off, like, we just did that.
We did that shit. Oh my god, I love Sophie. Love her.
Talking about Survivor, is there multiple players that inspire you as a woman? It can be females, but also like men players that you look up to or like would want to meet in the future?
Yeah, obviously Hannah. Like I was just talking about Sophie. I think Sophie's incredible. She was my age out there on the island, schooling coach like nobody's business. Are you kidding? I love T-Bird. I think she's an incredible player, an incredible person. I love Victoria. I really hope we do get to see her again. I'm going to be sad if CBS is like, no. Um, but yeah, I love Sari is a huge inspiration. And I would love to meet her someday. Austin has met Sari, and I'm jealous.
Me too.
I need this man to take me to all of his places because he's famous. I need him to hook me up with Kelly Wentworth.
Oh god.
But Natalie Anderson is a huge inspiration as a woman. Like, gosh, so many. Aubrey, like we were just talking about. Gabby, that whole archetype, because I know that's me. You see my glasses, I know her. I see a lot of myself in them. David, of course, Adam. I'm so deeply inspired by Adam as a person. His game was messy as hell, but he's an incredible person, and he did win, and he earned his win.
Yeah.
Even though I think Hannah should have won, he still won. The jury just didn't know. They didn't perceive her correctly. I'm gonna get in trouble for saying shit like that. But I think he's an incredible person, and I'm really inspired by him and the journey that he's had to walk since being on Survivor. And I would die to meet him one day. Oh my god, I love him so much. That'd be so cool.
Is there? I'm forgetting what was I gonna ask. Would you ever play another org that's not Corey's org, something different?
Yeah, I've considered it more than once. I'd love to do a Jeremy's playing an org about The Voice. I'd love to do that. That'd be super cool. I think if I watched enough Big Brother, I'd consider doing a Big Brother org. And I would like to consider doing some more Survivor orgs in the future, but I want to finish school first, or at least like this semester, because this is the last like real hard semester I have before I start student teaching, where it'll be different because it'll be more like having a job. And so I am definitely on a break right now. I only agreed to do the Amazing Race because there's no strategy involved. And so I'm like setting a hard boundary for myself. Ingrid, don't do it. But I do definitely want to do it in the future, especially because I know Austin's going to keep doing it. And so I gotta get a win under my belt. I want to win a game. That's the real tea.
What was I gonna ask? I keep forgetting. I was gonna ask. Oh yeah, life goals. Do you have any life goals that you're planning on achieving right now soon? Like anything you're working on? Like I know school is one of them, but like any personal.
Obviously, I want to
life
graduate.
goals?
The goal after college is to be a high school choir teacher. That's been my dream forever. I'm currently going into my student teaching classroom that I'll be in next semester, and working with the kids. And it like every time I get to go, I'm like, this is the dream. This is what I want to do. I love working with teenagers. I love singing. I love bringing communities together. I want to be a mom one day. That's been a dream since I was like born. I can't wait to be a mom one day. I would love to get married, Austin Ronald Scott Wilson. Please put a ring on this hand. Thank you. To match the other one. Just kidding. No, I'm not kidding. But like, yeah, I mean, those are like kind of the basics, and like they sound super basic, but at the same time, it's like, it's a lot of like simple little things in life that make me happy. And I want to be able to enjoy those things. And I don't know, win a Survivor org one day, maybe. I've thought about going on The Real Show. I don't know if I'd actually do it. I feel like
that was my next question.
Yeah, there was a while where I was like, I'm gonna do it, especially because my dad was like, no, you won't, and I was like, now I have to prove him wrong. But I don't know. We'll see. Right now, I'm like a little less enthusiastic about it as I once was.
What do you think is the biggest misconception about yourself that people think?
Ooh. Biggest misconception that people have of me. I think this is hard because I have a perception in my brain of what I think people think of me. And then there's like what people actually think of me. Because like in my head, I I often think about like the person that I used to be, like scared of her own shadow, like super anxious, like can't think for herself, like all these things. And I think that that's what other people think of me. When in reality, that's kind of what I think of myself. And I'm not necessarily sure that other people actually think that way about me, or if it's just in my head. Um, and I do think people think that I'm afraid of more things than I actually am. People are always surprised to hear that I like roller coasters, and I'm like, I'm not scared of everything, you know.
Roller
Love
coasters.
and I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I've been told by people that people think I'm fake, and I'm like, I am so. What you see is what you get. I cannot hide my face. I cannot hide what I'm thinking. It just comes right out of me. I don't hold anything back. Like, I'm just who I am, and that's it at the end of the day. I'm not at all fake in any way.
I was gonna say, one of the questions that I had for you was, I'm going blank again. This is so hard. I was thinking about asking you that the year that the pandemic started,
Yeah.
you were a different person. Do you think
Oh,
that you've changed? Like, and has the org influenced you in any way? Like the
absolutely, 100%. Um, I definitely am a different person now than I was then. I'm
Mhm.
definitely a happier person. I've met so many incredible people who have impacted me in so many ways. Not even just Austin, but like all of the friends that I've made from season 7 to those that I've never played with to those that I played with on season 10. Um, I uh, it's become an integral part of my life in a way that I never thought would be possible. I've flown to different states for these people, like, and people have flown to my state to come see me, and like that's crazy. That's crazy. Um, and I think I'm definitely a more confident person than I was at the beginning of the pandemic. I'm a stronger person than I was. I might like to say that I'm smarter than I was. Um, but like, y'all people have been my support system in such an amazing way, and I know that I have people all over the place that have my back because of the fact that I found this org and these people. Like, I truly, truly love all of these people so much. And I know, you know, I have confidence that they love me, which is something that I have struggled with my whole life. Um, and so it's really changed my life in a really positive way. Absolutely.
Is there anything that you want to reflect on with your journey, not just Corey's org, but meeting Austin, meeting your friends, the new friendships, all these hard moments with the org, but also school? What are your thoughts on this last 2 years, the journey where you started, where you wanted to be, and where you are, and where you hope to be in the next year?
Yeah. I mean, I'm so grateful to everybody. First of all, the people that are still listening after all this freaking time. Um, the people that have come in and left and that kind of a thing. And the people that I've met through this org that check on me every day, that want to know how I'm doing, that want to make sure I ate something today. Um, because I have those. And like, you know, having Austin in my life has absolutely changed my life astronomically for the better. It's I can't even imagine my life without him anymore. Which is crazy to think about because this time last year I had no idea who he was. Um, but tomorrow is 4 months since we started dating, which is crazy. Like officially started dating, like Facebook official. Um, and it's just like it's crazy how much has changed and how much I've grown as a person. And I'm so thankful for the friendships that I've made and the relationships that I have. And I know like people say like don't um this is rude. um
I will
I'm
say
saying
I
nice shit
enjoy
about you.
talking to you, Ingrid, so I don't care what he says.
I'm saying nice shit about you. This is proof that we belong together. I'm telling you, we both can talk like nobody's business. And I only had 2 seasons to get through. Um but I had no idea if I'd actually have a lot to talk about. But like genuinely, I'm so thankful for all the friendships that I've made, and I know how real they are. And like people always say, like, don't like meet people that you meet on the internet and stuff, but like y'all are such amazing people, and it really gives me like hope. You really tried to spell that correctly. Love you. Um, um, but see, this is what I'm talking about. These people support me like nobody's business. Um, there was actually a really funny moment where I was talking in a group chat with some people, and I said something that I didn't want Austin to hear, but Austin was in the group chat, and I was like, "You didn't see this. You didn't see this." And Dylan replied and was like, it totally worked, bestie. I could tell. And like, it's just like that ridiculous amount of support is just like amazing. And it's stuff that like I didn't think I would get from my college experience, because like, yes, the school is amazing, but it is very, very small. And my community as a music major is very small. I am the only person from my university, my college, that will graduate in this spring with a music degree. It's just me. Like, I've done a lot of my work alone. And so to have this support system both in and outside of college is amazing, because it also reminds me that like when I leave here, I am going to have a community of people who love me and will support me as I transition from college to real adult life, which I'm so afraid of. But it's going to be great. Because I'll have Austin and everybody else. And that's why this community is so important to me. Um, even outside of the game. Like, so the game is fun, and I love playing the game. I love watching y'all play the game and succeed in other orgs too, as well as this one. But it's really about the people, and it's always been about the people for me, and it always will be about the people. And
Because
I
it's not a
feel so
million
lucky.
dollars. You, yeah, if you can win, but if you can take some friendships out of this, then that's the real price, I feel
Exactly.
like.
Everybody's like, I didn't come here to make friends. Bitch, no, I came here to make friends. Um, I came here to win, but I also came here to make friends,
Yeah.
and
Um,
that I did.
is it similar to say that just like much like Survivor, when they get that loved ones visit, or when they get that letter from home, it's kind of the same thing with your friends, with Katie and Jeremy, and the community from Survivor, that it's that motivation, that kick that keeps you going day by
Absolutely.
day, and just like makes you work harder, and just like
150%. Like, school is so hard, and I hate school. Oh my god. I have no problem telling everybody in the world how much I hate school, and I'm going to go be a teacher. But like, the motivation to continue comes from my friends who believe in me so wholeheartedly, and also are pushing, because when I graduate, my life's going to be so different. But like in a really good way, which I have to keep telling my brain it's going to be good. But like, these people believe in me so much, and like they really think I'm going to be a great teacher. And that's like, what? Um, I'm still getting used to people calling me Miss Santiago. Who's that? Um, but it's absolutely, that's what pushes me every single day. And a huge part of that is the community that's been created here. A huge part of that.
talk to me about your friendship with Katie, because I know you guys are roommates. So you guys
Yeah.
kind of are going through not Survivor, but you go on this different journey, which is school, and you
Yeah.
do have to like go through it together. What has it mean to you, her friendship, and just going through like all of this?
Yeah, it's crazy because Katie was one of my very first friends ever in life.
Mm.
Her mom was my very first teacher in a preschool setting. We were
Whoa.
like babies. Um, there's a picture, I think it was on Facebook recently, of us. It's like toddlers. Um, and uh, we both actually moved away from each other and did not find each other again until her mom came up on my mom's people I may know on Facebook with no mutual friends. Facebook be connecting people like nobody's business. And when we reconnected, we were 17, or we were 16, going to be 17, juniors in high school. And she didn't start her college journey at Meredith. She started at a community college. But I started my journey at Meredith as a freshman, and I kept bringing her to Meredith and being like, you should come to Meredith. You should come to Meredith. And it ended up becoming her dream school too, and she is now here, and we live together, and it's amazing. I've had some really like weird roommate experiences in college. Um, and like to be living with my best friend and like it working out is really awesome. Um, and like she's been such the best support through everything. Um, and like listening to me talk about freaking Survivor all the time and my friends and things. And also just like being an outside voice and like continuing to motivate me and being just like an incredible friend. And she's also going to be a teacher, and she's going to be an amazing teacher of elementary school kids, which is not what I want to do at all. So bless her. But she truly is my best friend. And I'm incredibly thankful to have her in my life. And I'm thankful that, once again, Facebook brought us together after many, many years apart. We ended up becoming like such similar people. And I've hit the 3-hour mark. Woohoo! But she's fantastic, and I love her so much. And I'm very lucky to be doing this journey with her. Very, very lucky.
Talk about Jeremy, because I know that they got you into Drag Race, and talk to me.
Yes.
How has that been for you with like discovering Drag Race, and do you love it,
Yeah.
or what do you think about it?
So first of all, Jeremy's incredible. Jeremy's an amazing human being. Getting to meet Jeremy over Labor Day weekend was ridiculous. We did not know what to do with ourselves. First of all, Jeremy is like 1.5 feet taller than me, which is hysterical. But like that was another relationship that was like so organic, like being in person, where you like think it's going to be weird because you're like, oh my god, I've been talking to this person online for months, and then you're like in person. But it was like so organic and so raw, and they know me better than freaking anybody else, and I don't know how they do it. But even Austin will be like, Jeremy, help. I don't know what to do with her. And I'm like, oh my god, you're fine. But Jeremy did get me into Drag Race. That was back when I was staying up really, really late at night. And they being on the other side of the country, in a different country, were up at 3 a.m. with me. And they showed me Drag Race Canada and Drag Race UK. Drag Race Canada season 1 is still my favorite. I loved that season. We've only finished those 2 seasons because we've been on a little bit of a hiatus. But I like, first of all, I found an appreciation for drag queens that I did not have before I met Jeremy. Jeremy being a drag queen themselves. And like all the work that they put in and the artistry, and it's so cool. But also just like it's a really fun little reality show to watch. And getting to see these people's like hard work be like shown off, and like they can do shit with makeup that I could only ever dream of. And it's really fun. I love Drag Race, especially because Drag Race is like it's not like strategic the way that Survivor is. Like, yeah, there's like strategy behind it, like if you get to choose teams for something or whatever, but like it's different. And to me, it feels a little bit more lighthearted. Like, yeah, there's drama, but like it's a little bit more lighthearted in the way that you don't have to think as hard when you're watching Drag Race.
If you continue, I want to know what you think about All Stars, because All Stars is
I
very
definitely think we
similar
will
to.
continue at some point. I don't know when, but it's gonna happen.
Dylan knows this. All Stars is like Survivor, but they're wearing wigs and dresses. But I wanted to ask you also, which drag queen would you compare yourself? Do you think it's like you relate to the most
Ooh.
from the seasons that you've watched?
Yeah, I was gonna say there's only 2 to pick from. There's like, okay, I have like 4 favorite drag queens that I've seen, and I feel like I relate to each of them in a different way. So I'll talk about all 4 of them.
Okay.
Lemon from Canada Drag Race.
Yeah.
That was my like winner pick from the beginning, and I was crushed. I was crushed when Lemon went home.
Those splits, though.
I love her. Lemon something that like Lemon reminded me of myself in the way that like people always like perceived Lemon to be different than Lemon actually is as a person, and like people always thought she was like fake or rude or whatever, and it's like no, I'm just confident and I know what I want and I'm like doing it. um and so like in that way I really related to her. um Also, she was like on the younger side of the queens, which like I'm used to being like the baby all the time too in this kind of community. um there's not much, there's not many people younger than me. There's a couple, but not much. um Priyanka, also from Canada's Drag Race. She's just so wacky and like so authentic, and she encourages other people to be authentic.
Mhm.
With her whole like "just be gay" mantra, like just be who you are, like, and that really inspires me. And I also like connect to her because it's like I can't be anything but who I am. Um, and I feel like Priyanka is very much the same way. Um, Also, Priyanka is really awkward when she's dancing, and so am I. If it wasn't gonna be Lemon, I'm glad it was Priyanka. Um, and then from UK, Blue Hydrangea. Hydrangea, can I talk? I've been
Yes.
talking for so long. Blue Hydrangea. Um, Again, I gotta think for that fifth place. Cries. Um, but like Blue was also like one of the babies on the season. She was a shady bitch. I can be a
Yeah.
shady bitch. Um,
She actually, fun fact, she won Miss Congeniality, which
really,
is, yes, she did.
I love her. I
Miss
love her.
Congeniality.
Um,
And she was shady though, but I mean,
well, I mean, you can be sassy and still
yeah.
be a nice queen. That's me.
I mean, your team is called Sassy Drunk.
Drunk and sassy. I am not
Drunk is
drunk
like,
right now, which is tragic. I did not bring any alcohol to drink. But that's okay. Um, we're probably both better for it. But uh, yeah, I think also I really connected to like Blue feeling like she was representing her people, and feeling like there's not a lot where she comes from, and like
yeah,
having to kind of like put Northern Ireland on the map. um and Like she felt like she was speaking for a cause bigger than herself, which I
yeah.
really liked. And then the other person, and this is like from an underdog perspective, is my girl Cheryl Hole. I
Oh,
love her. I
she was the lip sync assassin of that season because she was at the
such
bottom
a
so many
queen. I love
times.
her. I love a good underdog always. And I do feel like in a lot of ways that I am an underdog. I've been privileged a lot in my life in terms of like money and things. Like my parents are well off and they've supported me financially as long as they possibly can. Um, but I also feel like in a lot of ways, like my own brain is stacked against me in a lot of ways, and I have to like overcome that all the time. And so I feel like I do relate a lot to the underdog in most cases, and so that's kind of why I root for the underdog. I know that Austin's always like, "You and the underdog," and I'm like, I don't even do it on purpose, but it just is what it is. I don't want the obvious person to win. Um, but I love Cheryl Hole. I thought her makeup was beautiful all the time, 24/7, always beautiful, amazing. I thought the one that she went out on with her sister, or no, that wasn't when she went out. Was that when she went out? When her sister?
Hmm, believe, I think it might have, but I don't. I know that's
Um,
does Dylan know?
yes, I think it was because that was when it was her and Baga.
Oh, yeah, she was. 'Cause they were they lip synced to
The Cheryl
um
Hole song. No,
no, it was to the song with Amy Winehouse.
yeah, I
Yeah,
think you're right. But
yeah,
like the look she did on her sister, are you
yeah.
kidding?
She looked great.
Are you kidding? Oh my god, she
She
was just.
almost reminds me of Alyssa Edwards. I don't know if you know her, but
I
she,
know who
if you,
Alyssa Edwards is. I don't know a
yeah,
lot about like her journey on Drag Race, but like I know who she is, and like
yeah,
she had an act on America's Got Talent this season.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, those are the queens I would say that I identify with and that I love very very much.
Final question.
Okay.
If you can describe your journey on this org, with season 7 and season 8, and In 3 words, what would it be?
3 words.
I think I said season 7, season 10. If I
Yeah.
said something else.
Lucky.
Uh-huh.
Um, I'm trying to pick the right word. um, lucky. Um, this is like a twofer, but hard work because it's been hard ass work. Um, and so it's a combination of luck and hard work. And I'm just gonna say grateful because I'm really grateful for everything that I've gotten out of all of this, both like for
Mhm.
myself and like the people that I've met.
I would even include, and this is just myself, but I would even include determination.
Yeah. Also
Um,
said that I was determined the other day, and that was the first time I'd ever heard somebody use that word to describe me. But I think that that makes sense.
anything you want to say before, anything to reflect on before we go?
Um,
Feelings,
I
thoughts?
I don't know. I've been talking for so long. But just like one last time, I'm incredibly grateful for this community and for the people that have supported me since I've joined y'all's crazy survivor antics. Um, and for the people who've had my back in and out of the game, um, you truly mean the world to me. Um, and I'm really grateful to have had the opportunity to talk about it.
Well, Ingrid, it's been a pleasure getting to know
Thank
you with
you.
these 2 seasons, but also outside the game and also seeing your journey, not just as a player, but as a young, strong woman who, works hard at what she does and with schoolwork and everything in life. I wish you the best of luck with all future orgs and
Thank
also
you.
in life and in love and everything you do. You are an inspiration, not just to other women, but to everybody who knows you. And before we go, I do this with everybody. It's only fit in since I play this, since it was your first ever season. Uh, with that being said, thank you so much for being here, Ingrid, and to
Thank
all of you.
you.
The live has spoken. Thank you so much, everybody who watched. Thank you so much, Ingrid, for being here.
Three
Until
hours and
next time.
11 minutes. Lord of mercy.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I love that.
Lord
Like when you
have
said,
mercy.
thank you so much, everybody. We'll
Thank
see you with
you.
another interview next week, or I think Don's next. That's gonna be a fun one. Might get drunk.
Yay.
But thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, Ingrid. Thank you, everybody in the
Thank you.
comments. It has been great, and the life has spoken.